Hello and welcome to our midnight feature presentation for It Is Always Midnight Somewhere. Tonight, more Awful Hospital and possibly our last Awful Hospital stream. Isn't that right, Legend?
Very possible.
Yeah, it's indeed very possible. We're gonna try to get through this. Well, it's not our last one ever, don't worry, but we're
Last one.
our last new updates one for a while until they get to like to the next milestone of 1100.
Yeah,
So
the plan is to finish this side quest and then read the rest until 1100
yeah, and then we might redo the first 100 pages because we got interrupted last time.
by like stream skipping and like
Yeah,
storage space or internet or something.
yeah, precisely. We didn't realize that we had to record things, but yeah.
Yeah. By the way, are you recording?
Yep. Oh, wait, are we?
Are you?
No. Let us.
Ooh,
Now
got you
we've started.
red-handed.
Now we've started recording. Thank you for reminding us.
Yep, yep, yep. And do you want to share your
Oh,
screen
duh.
with me?
Yes, yes, of course, of course.
Yes.
Uh,
All right. We read. Yeah, we finished this page last time, and we ended on uh, Cheryl just holding her head in her hands.
Yeah, right here. And of course, the two dolphin guys going. Alright, let's go to the next page.
Next page. Willis and Isaac had continued to follow the grimy path, winding through an increasingly elaborate maze of increasingly deteriorated bookshelves, increasingly empty, save for the old odd gray zone relic, or more worryingly, scraps of scaly fish skin and slivery exoskeleton. Willis still wasn't certain if those scuttling metallic things were really supposed to be library staff or not, but that first one had seemingly helped them out, and it dampened his mood to see the creatures in various states of disassembly. On closer inspection, one might have deduced that their remains bore a distinctly chewed appearance, but the boy was more exsanguinator than masticator himself, and so this detail unfortunately flew right over his weird little rubbery pretzel of a head. Oh, by the way, speaking of Willis's head,
Hmm?
found out something recently.
Yeah?
There is something in anatomy called the Circle of Willis.
Oh, oh, that's cute. That's very cute, Bugleech.
Yeah, you wanna see a diagram of it?
Sure.
Look at it. Okay.
That is literally just Willis. We
That
don't.
is it literally is just Willis.
We're gonna share this on the stream. No, we have to download it directly. Damn it. Okay. Save image.
While you're doing that, should I keep reading?
Uh, give us a second, actually, so that we don't derail your reading with us bringing in Willis.
Okay.
Willis beta version. The,
The first Willis.
the first one ever.
Yeah.
The first. The first.
Yeah. This
Mm.
is just the Wikipedia image.
And as you can see, folks, the
Yeah,
resemblance is uncanny. It's kind of hard
this
to
is the
show it off, but you can see it
yeah, this is the
here.
Circle of Willis, which when I first heard that like the Circle of Willis was a thing, I first thought was something
Wow,
very
they've
specific.
made Awful Hospital into real life.
No, 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 no. It was something else. So
Okay,
Willis's name is Willis C. Torrey, right?
right.
And Torrey is circulatory, like his mom is.
So his full
So
name
he's
is Willis Circle Tory.
Circula. But like I was thinking,
Circula.
because like the name Circula Willis would be much closer to Circle of Willis.
Hmm.
So if Bogleach had just made Circula the family name
Hmm.
and made it a thing where like
Like, hmm,
nerve people have their family name first.
yeah, like how many Japanese people do, or we think that's a thing in Japanese culture, right?
Think I don't know. I do believe that's how it works in Chinese though.
Hmm. I don't know.
Anyway, shall I
Let's.
continue?
Yes, please.
Had the arguably weirder Isaac been a bit more linguistically experienced, he might have been able to tell Willis that a certain pervasive stench reminded his distant gray zone memories of something he wasn't afraid of, but aggressively disliked for reasons only understood by the original human occupant of his mangled physiology. Perhaps some of you are concerned by the number of things Isaac can recall from the life of one Jacob J. Bateson, but the effect really wasn't quite that Isaac used to be this individual, and rather more comparable to an impressionable child picking up a handful of bad habits from an exceptionally rotten older brother. The trail of dirty footprints branched off a number of times. Whatever was responsible had been spending quite a few layers messing around in the planked library, or, conversely, messing around enough in the regular library to hasten its plankification. Willis banked on sticking to what he determined to be the main path, which he judged according to whichever way he felt like going at the time. But his distractible nature soon lost the trail altogether, and he finally found himself at an abrupt dead end. Before he could turn back, he suddenly felt that there was something odd about the bookshelves he had run into. Their vibroscent was almost, but not quite, entirely unlike that of the hospital, in a familiar way that made him feel as if their contents were intended specifically for him to find. The objects themselves had the distinct watery, mealy miasma of the gray zone, and meant nothing to him. But he supposed they might have been useful. Having 4 inventory slots available, he supposed he could afford to take 2 of the cryptic objects.
Ooh, two of
Two.
these.
Updated. I don't know what this was updated from, but pick 2. Carton of cigarettes. Willis doesn't know what these are called, but you do. To him, they're just a bunch of crunchy tubes that smell like that nice, trustworthy lady he just met. Maybe they're her favorite food, is the kind of thing that makes him think.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Imitation bacon reminds Willis of the cafeteria, but it smells a little more like real flesh matter. Hideous gray zone monstrosities don't even know the difference.
Hmm.
Self improvement book. Willis can't be bothered to even read the back cover, but this is the kind of book that prattles on endlessly about how it's supposed to be a bad thing to just smoke cigarettes and wander zones all day, avoiding your real human problems.
Hmm. It's definitely not a book we want. well,
Yeah.
well, we don't smoke.
I think in like some in an outside source, Bogleach confirmed that if you ever showed this book to Cheryl, she would retch.
oh, fair enough. No,
Canned sardines.
yeah, sorry. It's just that we're objecting to showing her it because we want to make her worse somehow.
And sardines. The kind of thing that specifically likes to eat saltwater gray zone beasts might the kind of thing that specifically likes to eat salt. Water gray zone beasts might be really into this. Wait, the kind of thing that specifically likes
Likes
to
to
eat
eat
saltwater
saltwater
gray
gray
zone
zone
beasts
beasts. So
might be really
dolphins.
into
So
Yes.
dolphins.
Took me 3 fucking tries.
Yeah.
Bitter apple spray. A metal can full of liquid with an artificial nasty flavor, designed to deter the gray zone's hairy monsters from gnashing on things. And plastic rings, a mechanism specifically designed by the Gray Zone's top technicians to asphyxiate aquatic bioforms.
uh,
Oh, well,
what we
actually,
would.
it's a fashion thing. Get it right, narrator?
We see. Uh, if we were to pick, we'd pick the carton of cigarettes and the canned sardines because we like to have people on our side, you see. And we also don't like to outwardly antagonize them. Okay, so screw us, we
Items
guess.
Items chosen: a guide to improving yourself in the apple spray.
Why?
The strange objects still weren't familiar to Willis, but his macaroni like hands were nonetheless guided by your hopefully wise evaluations. Newly equipped against something or other, probably, he turned back to continue his search for whatever it was. He'd probably remember soon enough, and it was no cause for alarm. He was always an awfully distractible child, wasn't he?
Hmm.
Distracted or not, neither he nor Isaac registered that they were being watched.
Ooh, spooky.
Ooh,
Spooky thing.
spooky ooky
Oh, and moldy cheese.
thing.
Put that with the moldy bread.
Oh yeah, you get a. Now we just need the moldy meat. Make a moldy sandwich. Mold improves the flavor.
You're sure you
Okay.
got the right place, Flipper?
What? Hey, wait. I'm doing the dolphins.
No, this is Cheryl. Actually, let us get this. Let's
No,
get
that is
this
Cheryl.
line reading right. You're sure you got the right place, Flipper?
And Cheryl, the kind of person who thinks name dropping any given television program from any given era with a sarcastic enough tone is a substitute for humor. Blowhole 2 puzzled momentarily at one of his flippers, actually only missing the reference because he'd never watched any gray zone media that could legally be shown to minors.
Oh.
Hmm. It was very specified about this here refused receptacle. Said there weren't none normally allowed in the library. We dump in proof we iced you, and we get just what's coming to us. Cheryl cocked an eyebrow, unsure if their mysterious client had used those exact words, or it was simply in the nature of her present company to word everything threateningly. Unfortunately, disposing of questionable human remains was practically a reflex action at this point in her life, and so she was already dropping her severed head into the bottomless black interior of the garbage can before she could finish her initial thought. The three listened intently as the head tumbled, clanked, until the sound faded into the depths, none moving a muscle. They remained silently poised for an awkwardly lengthy period thereafter, except for Cheryl's natural proclivity to loudly and wetly clear her throat every 3 to 5 minutes.
There's
That
another.
passed without
Yeah.
that passed without anyone talking to her. I was pausing so you could.
Yeah, we were doing that already.
Okay.
Ahem.
Line,
Wait, sorry. Well, this was a stupid waste of time.
he said, turning to leave just as some kind of something or other burst its way up out of the garbage chute and thudded onto the wooden floor, dark, squarish, and a little flattened. The
Hmm.
first to recognize the large and tantalizingly discreet briefcase for what it was had already begun to salivate a little at the hypothetical monetary value of its possible contents, and their crooked scowl slithered into an avaricious grin like some pallid slug oozing from a moldered squash. The two dolphins were also excited.
we read ahead of that, but we just had to laugh.
Eh.
Hmm.
The three unpleasant mammals.
The Three Unpleasant Mammals, our least favorite children's book.
The three unpleasant mammals stared a while at the briefcase, their reward for having ostensibly pulled off an assassination countless monstrosities had previously failed. Enthused as they were for the promises of something money like, something seemed off. Ladies are corpses first, said Blowhole 2,
You took the job to begin with, Shamu.
responded Cheryl, who had now expended every famous porpoise whose name she could recently recall.
It's better be worth it, too. I just gave them my best one.
He added, then laughed for an uncomfortably long time in a manner indistinguishable from the of a respiratory infection. Hmm. What were we using for currency again, anyway? Puzzled Blowhole 2. I mean, I don't want to open it up and get attacked by no weasels again. Wasn't a fan of that one. Cheryl rolled her eyes.
If they were back to weasels, why wouldn't they come in a sack?
Orp! Said Blowhole, which in this instance meant, not to alarm anyone, but it appears to have just taken the initiative to open on its own. Unfortunately, the others were too engaged in the subject of what currently constituted money to notice, even as an ominous shape began to pull itself from the disproportionately small briefcase. Though it would have hardly been the strangest example from across the perception range, it was not, in fact, a type of money. It was green from Deltarune.
We love her face here. Ah.
I I also love it. Uh this is the battle. The battle is awesome. Oh my god. I hello Ragatha.
No, it's your mom, friend. She's the one you calling.
A giant homicidal postal worker effigy attacks.
Express delivery from redacted. Hazardous materials. Yes, ship to your insides. Sorry, we were trying to do a Rakita, which we think failed. We'll just do the voice we
Or
would actually.
inside.
Yeah, we'll actually do the voice we would give her. Express delivery from redacted hazardous materials. Yes, ship to your insides.
The thing's fabric surface ripples and pulses as it shudders and shambles around. Its ungodly head lolls about, and it nearly crumples to the ground with every few steps, only to jerk upright again without missing a beat. It smells horrendous, like years of dried body fluids and filth. Its raspy, squeaky clown voice seems to fight back a snarl with every word. And music, Yokai Watch 3 USA Battle Theme.
Already ahead of things. Got it looped and turned down low so our voices can still be heard.
Yeah. Well, let me check the stream real quick.
You're gonna have to say some things too. Alright.
Yeah, we can be heard. Okay.
Okay, good.
Choose your action. We want to read these in their
Sure.
voices.
Sure. Smoke break. Item.
Yeah. They all snoodle. They all swatch. They all chime.
Alright, we're looking at Cheryl's items if we want. Cigarettes, unlabeled rusty can, single damp bunny slipper, and inappropriate reading material. Ooh. More? Oh, there's a lot of inappropriate reading material. With a lot of different
we saw her steal these from the library.
Yeah, we only saw her steal one. Bear spray.
No, she had like 4 stuffed into her shirt.
Fair enough. Bear spray, boxed wine, screaming rock, grimy doll head. This thing. This other thing. Cracked and melted smartphone, ambiguous taxidermy, bag of old spit, jar of human teeth, and a warped human skull. That's apparently been used as an ashtray. Alright. Go ahead.
And, compass, blooms, and Jiminy. Round 1. The hell is that thing?
Maybe there's cash inside? Like a pinata.
Or, with all due respect, I believe you mean pinata. Wait a minute. Didn't something say around 1? Are we supposed to be fighting?
Special lady in your life? Don't forget to let her know your funeral dates!
A foppish plush letter in the thing's hand swells until the end bursts open, unleashing a fireball that reeks like a mix of burning hair and burning excrement. Multi-target, 50% health loss.
What the hell, man? I wasn't ready!
That ain't no pinata. Warp! Warp.
Alright, so I've got an idea,
Round
Bruce.
2.
sorry, go ahead.
Round 2!
Alright, so I've got an idea brewing, but I gotta step outside a minute. Have fun, fellas.
What?
Can we describe this?
Go ahead.
Alright. Imagine, if you will, someone standing a stick of butter upright on a kitchen sponge. Then putting another kitchen sponge on top. Then microwaving the whole construction project until there's only 2 bubbling, sizzling butter-soaked sponges. While this in no way resembles the phenomenon Cheryl refers to as stepping outside a minute, it is at least comparably confusing and unappetizing.
-1 cigarettes. All damage this turn reduced to 0. Blowhole 2 used the old charm. Blowhole 2 swallows loudly and forces a grotesque smile, which is how he always smiles. He spit shines his forehead with a terrible balloon-like squeaking sound and adjusts his floppy snout like someone straightening a necktie, neither action having any visible effect whatsoever as he confidently approaches the opponent. Yeah, you got something to say about the old charm?
Not very charming. But it depends on your words. What you say next couldn't matter.
So, I don't usually do this, but I just kinda happenstance to notice you inflict an injury upon our material forms here, and I thought to myself, wow, who is that with such a gigantuan matter vessel? And believe you me, I ain't the kind of porpoise to inject no ciscoid in just any incubation.
Slap! The thoughtless and reflexive attack action was concentrated slowly on Blowhole 2, sliding him to the floor with one big, squishy mitten hand.
1 second.
Alright. This is some funky music that we can jam to.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, you read the giant homicidal postal worker effigy you slap thing?
Yeah. You slap and a
Yeah.
thoughtless and reflexive attack action was concentrated solely on Blowhole 2, sliding him to the floor with one big, squishy mitten hand.
Blowhole 2 loses 4 health.
Yikes. Every time. Just not sure why.
Blowhole used Jiminy! Blowhole's mouth just sort of flips open like a lid, and there's suddenly nothing inside but a bright yellow void. Something weightlessly floats out. Not quite a trail smoke, not quite a quivering jelly, but definitely not something you can ever accurately illustrate with an action icon. The non-shape reaches into the general idea of the adversary, not for any destructive purpose, but in the way a curious animal might idly test a newly discovered crevice in its environment. And then, unceremoniously, it is gone, as if it never materialized at all, and in fact, it now technically hasn't. Giant homicidal postal worker effigy has become disquieted.
Remember that butter... Oh, you can read the line here.
Her smoke break.
Remember that butter thing? Just picture that in reverse, except that it brings a surprisingly large volume of cigarette ash with it from nowhere. Seriously, it's like all that smoke that billows out from under a space shuttle as it's taking off, except all at once, and the space shuttle is some frumpy mom.
1d20 regeneration roll. 9. Cheryl said.
Okay, listen up, boys. I came up with an original plan, all by myself, that just might be genius enough to work.
By Cheryl, just now.
Homicidal it may be, but it is still a postal worker. What if we try using something from our inventory on it? And by using, I mean we give it to the thing, along with a fake address, and ask it to deliver whatever we gave it. Hopefully it takes the bait and goes away. If it doesn't, well, hopefully the sheer audacity of trying to ask it to deliver our mail to a fake address, while it's trying to kill us, will confuse it long enough for another of my good ideas.
Round 3! Alright, Miss Genius, what pray tell do you propose we submit to our friend here for hypothetical delivery?
Well, I got a decent cardboard box for starters, but you're gonna have to cover me a minute.
You serious?
Just do it!
Item used. Producing a mostly empty box of cheap wine from her inventory, Cheryl ducks behind the two dolphins and begins chugging the remaining wine as quickly as she possibly can.
We're excited for this next line.
Recital postal worker effigy used. Air mail.
Here's the mail and never fails. It makes me wanna wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Mail!
Reaching into its mailbag, the figure produces 3 smaller plush envelopes and prepares to hurl them like a volley of shurikens directly at Blowhole 2. Giant homicidal postal worker effigy is disquieted. Constitution roll 12. The entity shudders slightly at the sight of Blowhole and botches its throw. Damage roll 3d10 14 minus 50. Blowhole 2 loses 7 health.
So Blowhole 2 survives.
Blowhole 2 used the old swatch. The heinous dolphin smiles wider, despite or possibly because of his significant physical damage. He inhales sharply, bends over, and strains audibly, his flippers curling like they're totally boneless, which they are. As a green-brown substance, the consistency of slightly dry and crusty tapioca pudding spurts from his blowhole, the screen bends and twists to home directly in on the adversary's face, and a yellow foam froths up like shaving cream where it hits. 1d20 Schwartz roll, 17 damage returned to opponent. Blowhole 2 regains 17 health. Opponent sustains 17 damage.
Thanks.
Blowhole used Bloogs! The larger dolphin's entire head sucks inward for a moment.
Nice.
The end of a suck as his body contracts into nearly sphere. He becomes ball.
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 Ball the bouncing ball.
He knows ball.
Can't. We're gonna eat some trail mix while you describe the rest of this.
There's a loud sloshing sound as the sphere performs a couple of intense shakes, like something mixing a gigantic cocktail, before the creature snaps to its original shape, pauses, and delicately tips forward, unleashing a dribbling cascade of what looks like a lot of large, rusty, yellow, transparent macaroni noodles. On touching the ground, the Bloogs scurry with blinding speed towards the adversary and vanish phantasmally into its body surface, each leaving a thick orange grease stain. Blowhole claps with excitement through this process, emitting an even more seal-like barking than his usual orps. Warp! 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 1d20 Bloogs roll. 9 times turn number divided by 2, rounded down, equals 13. Imagine we turn these attacks into magic cards.
This would be ridiculous.
Opponent loses 13 health and feels queasy about something. Giant homicidal postal worker effigy has lost 30 health. Cheryl finishes drinking. Acquired. Empty box. Still reeks of the cheapest wine a Grey Zone gas station has ever sold, with a tinge of what it smells like when a very heavy smoker has spent more time drinking from the same carton than our conventional concepts of both time and liquid volume should have permitted.
Woo! Not much left, but whoo, baby!
Great. What now?
Oh, right. Well, we gotta put something in the box. We gotta make this the real deal, right? All that concept crap. Send them send a... Wow. You know what they don't tell you is that a zone opening does to the... You know, the guy, it's a guy, right? Every fucking thing out here, some guy or chick or animal fucking thing, I swear to God.
Yeah, real swell, sister. You know, we kind of have a bit of a recharge on them explosions of ours, so you're gonna have to hurry this up before that thing crams us through the mail slot or whatever it does.
Oh God, is the mail slot a guy or like a chick? Oh Jesus, is that like these things? Is that how they? Holy shit, man! zones are fucked up. Oh, fermentation. That's the word I would do. Fermentation. Oh, this like zonesy big world shit is like the ferment setting goes clear of its. Wait, what? Of it's. Damn it, okay. Off its shit. Yes, I fucking did it. And I looped it again. Oh, shit. Ah, we see she was being censored. Oh, we didn't voice act that properly then. Oh, well, whatever.
How'd you just put something in the box? Round 4.
Oh my god, this is gonna be so good. Hang on. Wait. Okay, so, oh my god, let me do it, okay?
I'm literally telling you to do it already.
Not you, Fick. Them's little guys in the boxes, in the comments. Teeth? They think I'm not gonna... Come on, that's stupid. You can't mail to a psychopath. That's not a guy. Not on this layer.
I think she's lost it.
Let me concentrate, okay? Okay, I'll send the teeth, but go on, got a great idea.
I'm amused. Bar of teeth. Carol pulls open the cardboard wine container, places the clicking, rattling jar of human teeth inside, then folds the box closed again. Each step of the process, the kind of wobbly struggle you may have witnessed as an ape deduces the physical functions of a puzzle cube, even while its intended context remains quite elusive to it.
Hey, I got some mail to send. Mail. You gotta mail. I got a thing to mail.
The huge figure shudders to a halt midway through its newest attack. A giant rusty letter opener still clutched menacingly in one mitten. Giant homicidal postal worker effigy said,
Neither rain nor sleet.
The creature drops its weapon,
Ting.
as if in a daze, and reaches out its empty hand to receive the package.
This is get this. God, this is gonna be hilarious. Okay. You got the hold on. Delaware, go Delaware this to your boss for me. Turn to center. Give him this right back who sent you. And this is important. You gotta tell your boss, tell him, Fern and the blowhole prophet said. That's the important part. Don't forget, Fern and the blowhomes, the two guys right here, and me, Fern. You tell your boss. You just tell him we said for your boss to tell we said for him to.
Even while this drunk, it is second nature to her to lie about her own name and potentially pin the blame on her associates.
Yeah.
Wait, is this going where I think?
Hold it! Don't take them off any more than...
Come self! Hell yes!
You finished the line?
Fish.
Oh no.
The dolphins watched helplessly as the monster, wine box in one hand, an empty briefcase in the other, slithers back down into the garbage can tunnel from where it arrived, like an octopus squeezing its way into a small bottle.
I don't think that was really the wisest course of, Wine?
And we
Family
got
Guy
death.
death pose. We said it at the same time.
Yes! This is excellent. I love drunk Cheryl.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Okay, yeah, that's him. I forget his name.
Dr.
Okay,
Pleagood.
how do I...
It's Dr. Pleagood.
They said what? This means war! Soon as I see what they got me, oh, it sure better be good. Eh? The heck is. Ah! Don't just stand there, you numbskull! Ah!
Blook, 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 blook.
Aw, man, not the teeth.
I'm a victim of teeth.
Oh, we love how as soon as they cut to the hospital, it's a comic again.
Oh, yeah.
That's cute.
While the rest of you were so preoccupied with whatever all that was about, Willis and Isaac had made quite a bit more progress than you might have thought. Wherever a stray chunk of library still clung to definition, they had done their best to tidy things up, and they usually did so more or less correctly. They even dispatched a ravenous paper shredder with relative ease, and took down a poster that urged children to never read anything ever again, which probably wasn't desirable to the librarian, no matter how cool and hip its neon fonts or its explosive graphics. Every time they corrected some little figment of disorder, the library regained another lost little figment of self, and it was
Fragment.
far. What?
Fragment. Yeah, you read it. You read it as Figment twice.
Fragment of disorder, the library regained another lost little fragment of self. And it was far, far more important than Willis could have ever known. Unfortunately, he was still analogous to only a child, and his patience was beginning to wear thin. Everywhere the two had found that disorder, they had also found the telltale muddy stains of and shoe marks of the unseen saboteur Willis knew was still at large, still canceling out their hard work. It felt almost pointless. It was definitely not feeling all that fun, the more he considered it. "Hmm, this is almost worse than waiting for Fern was!" he exclaimed finally. He was even beginning to feel roped into a series of chores, which was precisely the sort of thing he hadn't wanted to happen. He was a little too young to articulate it, and a little too proud to admit it, but what he had really wanted was a distraction from worry, and his library mission was suddenly becoming the opposite, especially since he had felt no closer at all to what he originally came here for, when he remembered it anyway. When he remembered it anyway, or any closer to finding Cheryl's Doog creature, which was now occupying more of his mind. She had told him over the course of his lengthy and persistent questioning that they were looking for a small gray zoner covered in curly dark fuzz with an idiotic mouth that was always drooling and a horrible black nose that was always wet and disgusting black eyes that were always sticky and crusty. So he had a pretty good idea of what to look for.
It's not too far off, but it's pretty still far off.
Opie.
Poppy.
But he not only hadn't seen, phased, or smelled anything that might have been the Doug, he hadn't even caught whiff of a gray zone blood in any direction for quite a few layers. In the darkest corners of his mind, a terrible notion stirred. He tried to force it down, but it only redoubled its efforts out of petty spite, hurling itself to the forefront of his thoughts to wallow smugly in his consciousness. What if a Durg didn't even have any blood? He stopped in its tracks. Nearly tripping Isaac. And his eye-like artery holes widened with horror as that terrible notion presented its first most obvious problem. If Doug didn't even have blood, then even if he found it, there wouldn't be any little treat he could sneak or reward himself for his good job. Not even a drop. No!
Only cubes. Your little
No
nose was so
blood.
adorable.
Oh. Alone with only Isaac, the tedious maze, and the well-meaning but usually all too muffled chatter of innumerable buzzers, it was harder and harder for Willis to distract himself from negativity. He was beginning to remember with more frequency and clarity that there were a lot of bad problems going on, and the childhood confidence that had propelled him through unfathomable existential doom was finally beginning to crack. He missed Fern. He missed his equally great friend Cheryl. He missed when the hospital folk were all together and usually basically made slightly more sense than they currently did. And most of all, he missed his mother having any layers to spend with him. He was still a tad too young to fully appreciate the gravity of the potential end to all things as we know them, but he was at least much more upset about it than he had been letting on, especially now that the rotten flesh parliament guys were to blame for this boring, stupid chore he'd been suckered into. His footfalls had become agitated little stomps, and he huffed and puffed all the while, a repetitive little toot from his arteries that you may have naively found quite funny, but would have chilled the exospines of the glimmerings, hairiest shamble racks.
Yep.
See, maybe some of you have forgotten what exactly Willis was, or maybe you just got here, or maybe you were never really paying attention. But it may be pertinent to elucidate that he is the offspring of the head surgeon of the hospital, which isn't so much like being the son of a mother with a job as it is like being a leaf on a tree in a forest. How Willis works. Nebulous concept of medicine, surgery, basically a puppet, and Willis, basically a puppet allowed to grow in his own mind. Or, in this case, like being a fundamental principle of a leaf in the cosmic blueprint of a tree and the collective physical avatar of all possible forests, which is to say that it is correct to describe Willis as a child, in the same sense that it is correct to describe a space nebula as a cloud. Everything originally of the hospital loves and supports Willis, but these are not entirely the only reasons they are so delicate in their interactions with him. And it is perhaps also worth mentioning that what little restrictions they place on his wandering have never necessarily been for his safety.
Hmm.
Next.
Hmm.
As Willis rounded one particularly boring corner of the labyrinth, he caught sight of his adversary's trademark filth once more, and got halfway through rolling his eye holes before his eye holes shifted gears to bugging clear out of themselves in shock, a feat which would have given you a fleeting migraine to have witnessed. He had managed to make a circle. He had been here before, and he had worked very, very hard doing a very good job with none of your help, too. What were we just comparing to Willis? A space nebula, was it? It is likely that some point in your life you've probably witnessed or experienced what is commonly referred to by your species as a nervous breakdown, or more demeaningly as a temper tantrum when it happens to children. It is probably not as likely that you have witnessed such a phenomena in any nebulae. As Willis
We have.
stood, as Willis stood, staring up at the freshly and now irreversibly distorted books, the surrounding planks began to creak and groan just a little more than usual. Then, a lot more than usual.
Scary. Scary. Scary.
He's getting mad.
Education about optical illusion time.
Optical illusion is an interesting thing. The way an image can have multiple simultaneous meanings to your buttery smooth cognitive tissues. But once made aware of them, your salty sweet jelly orbs can now see how each interpretation was present all along. This doesn't work on us higher ordered entities, mind you, but enough of us understand the principle well enough that it's precisely how we reach into your unprotected perceptual spheres and sample that juicy neural pudding of yours before it ever catches on.
Oh no.
So- Sorry, what was I talking about? Oh, yes. Imagine then a similar principle at work as young Willis began to lose his cool. In the simplest and most physical sense, it was rather like a single tiny mushroom deciding it has had quite enough of all this and would rather go home, but cannot do so without pulling its mycelium up out of the ground. But as more and more of the fungal network uproots from the churning soil, you begin to realize that it was the soil, and the rocks, and the trees, and maybe even the air. Had you been personally present for his little breakdown, you might have felt foolish for ever thinking the space surrounding Willis was ever anything other than more Willis. And this is the point at which even us higher ordered entities would rather cheese it than hover around waiting to find out how much we were also always more Willis, which ironically would not affect you quite as easily, with your ingrown cores and your uniquely blunt definitions of the self. Perhaps that's why some would prefer to consider you differently adapted rather than lower ordered, but that's not a debate this narrator has any investment in. Food is food, if you ask me. Anyway, whatever the perceptual levels whatever the perceptual levels at work, Isaac knew a problem when he saw one. In his foggy minded way, he fancied himself a bit of an expert on seeing things and on knowing what they were, and he wasn't terribly far off, even if it still boiled down to a system as basic as good thing to be seeing or bad thing to be seeing. It certainly hadn't failed him yet, and in this case, he knew precisely what to do.
Can
He's
you
gonna
make
start.
little? Can you make little yelping dog noises? Sorry, what were you saying?
I said, ruff, 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 ruff.
No, before that, what were you going to say before we interrupted you?
Oh, I was gonna say, Willis is speed running this quest.
Uh-oh.
I think. It's been a while since I've actually read the fine details of this.
Fair enough.
Anyway, back at the filthy hovel that was their current hideout, Blowholes 1 through 2 were scheming with renewed vigor as their human compatriot slept off a hangover in the sack they had conveniently transported her there for the second time. Dolphins, though a tedious analytical process that involved at least one use of a paper bag puppet, the Dolphins, through a tedious analytical process that involved at least one use of a paper bag puppet, entirely failed to suspect either that their employer had seen through their grift or that Fern was never quite who she said she was. They were, after all, two ineptably perceptive geniuses among their already diabolical kind, and the only possible flaw in their plan must have been that their employer had never intended to pay them at all. This part was remarkably correct, but they had still reached that conclusion through a mix of blind chance and unwavering ego. Us two, the smartest, not smartest, all the rest. Amateurs, spat Blowhole 2, shaking his head as he reviewed the complex calculations seen here, suddenly pretending he hadn't been mortally terrified throughout the encounter with the postage-themed counter-assassin. He only felt more confident than ever that nobody, not nobody no-how, pulls a fast one on the Blowhole brothers.
Hey, fish. You got anything to eat in this dump?
Said the recently conscious Cheryl. Cheryl? Fine! Yelped Blowhole 2 as he spun around, still rattled by the Grey Zoner's unwavering fearlessness towards two entire dolphins, and even to the thing he would still not admit nearly obliterated them. Anything you say, Fern. Of course, Fern. Right away, Fern. As the creatures who were very much not fish on any conceivable level scrambled in a near panic to assemble a sandwich or something, Cheryl thought she spotted something of grave importance among their notes. But it made her head feel funny, and she forgot all about it as soon as she wasn't looking at it anymore. Little liar, bad guy, no good, run. Even worse, ugh, yuck, in cahoots, don't forget.
We'll make sure to keep that in mind. Uh, counterfeit, counterfeit phage, which is a duck.
Yes. And this here little fella, this little cricket bunny here, this here thing is letter Hey! Screeched Alexei Covermus. The thing that was currently his pupil had long ago stopped paying attention to a lecture that would have continued all the same with or without its audience. The old flesh node was busily vibrationing a portable transozonal memnocoil. Transiozonal memnocoil would go hard as a magic card.
Yeah. we gotta we gotta do a stream where we make like a Apple Hospital custom magic set. We've already made like one card.
An act very broadly analogous to what you would call texting your boss. He had only ever been listening to any of the small worms wabble to evaluate progress, and that progress had been quite unsatisfactory. But see now, continued the professor, this next little scamperoon and this here, see, quite distinct from the thing it. Well, see, this other thing next here is letter A. He was squealing every word ecstatically, loud and repeatedly tapping his pointer at the visual aid he had set up for this difficult lesson. He can already see it.
Yeah, we can clearly envision it in our mind. Just him at like one of those projector boards, and he's just flipping through things with various different fonts of the letter A.
Yeah, that's totally what he's doing. Do not scroll down yet.
All right, so.
But y'all better watch out now. Tell you what, so just so you don't don't confuse him with this next crazy character we call the letter Mr. A. At last, folks, A. At long, like really long last. Here he is, guys. Letter A. Yes, progress was satisfactory indeed for a conceptoid as fundamental as the professor. Once he destabilized completely, the library itself would exponentially follow, and so the entity known as quietly withdrew from another doomed conceptual zone. The professor, to his credit, nearly stopped his lesson for a moment, puzzling at the sudden absence of something he never truly realized was even a presence, not consciously at least, but continued from where he left off just as quickly as the notion had flittered through his mind. At least until, with an urgent cry of help, "Ground!" or maybe a "Scratch!" something else made its presence unmistakable.
Yeah, it's not even an A.
It's an A in my heart.
Fair enough.
Wee-hoo-hoo-hoo! Screeched the professor, positively losing his already lost enough mind with excitement at the brand new student to his very important lesson. Sorry,
Yeah.
said Isaac, mustering the full power of his vocabulary to get the professor's attention.
You're very
A little
good at
bookworm.
cute little noises, by the way. You're very good at those. Yeah, it's like if Stitch were actually a dog.
Who's Stitch?
From Lilo and Stitch. The blue guy.
I've never seen Lilo and Stitch. I don't know what his voice sounds like.
Fair enough.
Does it sound like what I do?
Stitch's voice sounds a bit deeper, but yeah.
The little bookworm calmed down, only enough for his incoherent howls to form more or less intelligible words, which will be transcribed here a little more coherently than the reality. How doodly do, sonny boy? You're here for a nice read and listen to, I betcha. I'll just bet. I just pull up a seat here, kiddaroo. Pull up it's reading lessons. Babbled Isaac more frantically. The professor whirled happily. Aha! Genius! Great work, lad. We are indeedly doodly in a library. That's some fine, impressive scientific and magical observing class. Gold stars for everybody. Barked the slob monster, stamping one of its clawed feet. He already knew he was smart, thank you very much, but there were plenty of layers to accept all of his gold stars later. Ah! The professor's frantic twirling slowed a bit. Whoa, wait! What's that, boy? What's that? What's that, boy? A frustrated Isaac emitted noises that are even more difficult to transcribe, but somehow, something in the communication triggered something deep within the mental algorithms of Lexicovermus, like a computer with a hidden backup hard drive, a deeply buried pocket of clarity, some final leftover shred of near sanity, began to stir. Trouble! Trouble down! What's that, boy? There's, oh, there's trouble down at the old library? He halted suddenly, the thing on his hat taking a bit longer to cease its own whirling until it finally flapped to a stop. I see. Ah, wait, I see, I get it. Where the heckaroonie am I? Who wrote this disgusting 3 on my beautiful blackboard? Wait, what was that about Willie? Said Isaac, correcting him. Oh, Willis! Wait, little Willis? Miss Torrey's Willis? Gasped the bookworm. Yeah, confirmed Isaac, and Professor's final 2 surviving gears at last clicked into their proper place. He blinked, and the red drained from his bulging eyeballs. Oh no, good gravy. I really do remember the hospital, my library, oh jeepers peepers, the conceptual range. Golly gosh, this is a pickle, isn't it? Rather elephantine gherkin, as a friend of mine would say. Okay, shucks. I may not have very many layers of coherence to work with here. Quickly, would you open a communication channel for me? If I can thread that through a quasi-gel, I should be able to open a clear channel for your buzzers and probably not implode hardly any of them. Isaac nodded, knowing precisely what this meant, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
Yep.
You have a lot of voice acting to do.
Yes. Well, yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, is this thing on? Hello? There you are! I must apologize for this inconvenience and especially any hypothetical implosions, but I'm afraid I may re-enter my more aggressive algorithms at any layer. You know how it is with existohazards and zonal conservation protocols, I'm sure. Would you perchance be willing to participate in a potentially obtuse line of inquiry regarding your experiences over the previous, let's say, approximately 1,000 some layers? If this is satisfactory, I should be able to organize some queries into this very layer before we proceed. You can, of course, posit your own questions, but it is of critical importance that I collect some data of my own, if you don't mind.
Wait, sorry, got distracted because. Yeah, anyways.
Neither the professor nor the thing that writes this could have predicted how much information the readership had retained. The memories, analyses, speculation, and raw data was almost overwhelming, a hurricane of thought beyond anything the bookworm could have ever hoped for. His diminished yet still tremendous mental faculties processed it all within the infinitely tiny space between layers before I could even finish my snack break. The forces, regrettably beyond my control, decided you should be rewarded for your efforts by stabilizing the professor a little longer than previously intended. Rats! Oh, jeez, gracious gumdrops, that is fascinating. I mean, terrible, most certainly, just awful, but academically speaking, said the professor with his still irritatingly nasally voice and pretentious vocabulary. Quiet, you. Don't you have 300 some to digest? Went right through me, sorry. What are you even going to do, old man? Educate me to death? We both know how that works out. Ah, come on now. If the library goes, so do you. Yes, but I'll go out eating like a queen off the rot.
A
If
queen?
you'll just Now, no spoilers. My pronouns are revealed later.
Oh, but it says a clean. Okay, fair enough. Go ahead.
If you'll just simmer down a little, you can have the Violet Phase Warble speak. Reckon nothing's gonna need it again after the last fulminating. You, you mean it? Channel's already unlocked. Have at it. Thanks for the appetizer, Pops. Alright, sorry about that, folks. This place has been crawling with bad narration since it all started. Vultures. But as I was saying, what you fine folks have told me is as intriguing as it is mighty concerning. My last coherent memories are still lost on me. Sorry to say, but I'm as I'm as pleased as I am troubled to admit that all this business about old flesh, the nature of the hospital's deterioration, and some of these unsavory characters you've run afoul lends credence to my less popular theories on the truth of existence. Gee whiz, have I never been so rattled to be so validated. As for the questions you have posited, to me regarding various entities and zonal processes, I'm afraid I don't dare risk misleading you with as yet unproven hypotheses. I still must ask some particulars before we continue. This will be subjective data, and all possible answers will be of value. 1. What have you regarded as the most frightening entity you have experienced since Layer 001?
Ooh, good question. We think that would definitely be the mother entity from last stream.
Mother entity from last stream. There is,
Yeah,
there is the
Harold, that was his name. Harold, the dummy
oh,
creating mother.
Harold.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the kidney stone mom.
Ah, okay.
I guess it went down fairly easily, but it's still like
Icks you out.
it still takes you out in a very potentially horrifying way,
Yeah.
like torturous. Like it even threatened to torture Fern's baby.
Ooh. Yeah. Violent.
2. The most unpleasant entity that does not fit the previous question.
Most unpleasant. Jay.
I think most unpleasant.
Yeah.
I think this is asking for like most repulsive, maybe. I'm not
Possibly.
sure what it
Well,
might be.
well, I mean, the answer would still be Jay. Actually, our answer is like the little, the little guy that works for the old flesh that had to be interrogated. What was his name again?
I think it was Larry. No, not Larry,
Hmm.
but I think it was slightly feminine.
All right, fair enough.
Leslie. Leslie? No, it
No,
wasn't
no,
Leslie.
definitely wasn't there.
Uh, I
We're
do think. Hmm, I think it might be. Huh, maybe
hey,
the Harmburger. Like its detailed like appearance is maybe.
yeah, Hamburger can be pretty ick, but at the same time, we still view these creatures as people. That's why we initially answered J.
That's
And
true. That's true.
yeah,
He's definitely like the worst like person.
yeah,
But
even more so
like
than
the
the old
harm.
flesh. Well,
Yeah,
not
but
worse. Actually, not worse so than the old flesh.
yeah,
Actually, scratch
I'm
that. Those guys hurt children a lot.
I'm just saying the most unpleasant to like look at.
Yeah, fair enough.
There is also hmm,
Oh, most unpleasant we think was like the foot with warts.
oh, the foot warts. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, there was also uh the nose.
Oh, the nose. Hmm.
It has a very
It
jarring.
grew on us.
It does grow on you when you find out it's just a little baby, but it's very like uh
I hope you find your little you.
but it also has kind of an unnerving appearance.
Yeah, we can see that.
All right. G, an entity you found An entity you have found to be the most charismatic other than myself?
Most charismatic is quite the question. Like, who who has the most riz?
Cheryl.
Carol, say?
Cheryl.
Cheryl. Okay, at Cheryl. Um, um, most charisma, we'd say, would be the microbes. Celia, Maggie, and Staff.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Hmm.
The Yuri.
Yeah, yes, the Yuri. Oh, the Yuri. Oh, Magdalene. Magdalene has to be the most charismatic by far. We we
Definitely,
like her.
definitely.
We like her a
Yeah.
lot.
Number 5, the most frightening event.
Most frightening event. Ooh, that's another tough one. This could be recency bias, but we do think maybe the last, uh, maybe dealing with the mother entity. But there's also some other pretty freaky things as well.
I remember my first reading. Like when Fern was being digested by Aura. Remember
Ooh.
that?
Oh
We
yeah.
saw a few layers of like visions of like Fern's past from the
Oh yeah.
perspective
Yeah, from the
from the
perspective.
perspective of her kid.
Yeah,
And that
that.
was
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Never mind. We changed our answer to that. Yeah, that was
yeah,
frightening. When we fully
yes, this
realized just how horrifying things were.
yeah. Was like one specific creature in there. It was yellow and smiling, and it definitely unnerved me the first time I like read the comic.
Fair enough.
Oh, and there was also the first look into the abyss when I saw the monsters.
Oh yeah. We just we just always thought those were like cool shots. We like
They
weird
are
little
cool.
we like weird little freaks. We guess when we're scared by implications, which is why we're also frightened by the mother thing. Just something
For
off,
sure.
you know?
Yeah. Suave. Something that stands out as especially strange or
You skipped
perplexing.
one. You
What?
skipped
Oh,
zero.
the most zero, the most humorous event or entity.
Most humorous
Us.
event. Who?
Us. We're the most funny.
Oh yeah, true. But in the thing, in Apple Hospital. Oh,
Hmm.
this is a tough one. Ooh,
Ooh,
ooh, there's a
putting
lot of.
down one singular event is kind of tricky because Bogleach likes to sprinkle like really good one-liners across the comic.
Yeah, we're definitely going with character here. Think
Yeah.
thinking of character here.
Hmm.
Uh
What's the funniest thing that's happened?
Funniest character we think. Uh there's quite a few good ones. Phage, Bomber, uh just a lot of very good ones. Vern's pretty funny at times. Cheryl's hilarious.
Oh, Cheryl. Cheryl, I think I'm gonna lock in Cheryl actually.
Fair enough. Um, 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 um. There's a
Actually,
lot.
actually, no, wait. I'm actually gonna change that slightly. Instead of an entity, I'm gonna go with an event.
Okay.
The part last stream where Blowhole 2 was trying to describe the act of murder, but Cheryl kept interpreting it as sexual.
Yeah, fair enough. We also think the Blowhole brothers are pretty funny. We think all three of those together, all the moments with them are great. We also love the
Yeah,
narration throughout this section.
why, thank you.
Yeah, they're
That
part
wasn't
of it.
me saying that. That was me in character as the narrator
Yeah,
saying
fair
that.
enough, fair enough.
Because I don't change my voice for the narrator.
Yeah, fair enough. You have a lovely voice, by the way. Uh,
How do you?
hmm. Anyways.
Uh, oh, did you pick something?
Hmm. Uh, we think we'll pass. It's too difficult, and we don't have enough memory of every funny thing.
Okay. Mauve. Something that stands out as especially strange or perplexing.
Ooh. In our line of work, it's hard to find things strange or perplexing that uh, in a neck in just
I find
yeah.
it kind of strange I guess I find Miss kind of strange,
Hmm.
just as someone who's like so detached from reality that Earth becoming a flesh zone is just like teenage angst for her.
Yeah. And Cheryl meanwhile is we do think the humans are probably the most mysterious because we expect the rest of this to be weird. But the but the two but the two normal skin colored humans are the most mysterious characters because what could have gone through their lives
I
is
mean, the
that the
three.
yeah, pardon?
There's Doctor Man, there's Miss, and there's
Oh yeah,
Cheryl.
man as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
man as well. Man, Miss, and
yeah.
Cheryl. Those are the
I
three
will say
strangest.
I find Cheryl to be generally less mysterious than Miss. She is weirder, but I think there's like an explanation for that. She's just a sort of like zone hopper, and that sort of rubs off on her.
Yeah, fair enough. And Miss and Dr. Man, however. Dr. Man, we think, has a lot of his backstory explained, even if we don't know exactly what he is now. But,
Yeah, it's still like sort of in the dark if he like manifested as a concept of what a human doctor should be, or if he was a human from Virginia.
yeah. Miss, Miss is definitely the Miss, we didn't really think about how mysterious her total detachment is, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand some of that. You know, shitty parents. You don't want to really. You're not in a rush to return to Earth, but I
Yeah.
mean, the apocalypse. So
Yeah.
nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Next question.
Um, Per Satsan, what is something or someone from these events that you would most wish to learn more about, but not necessarily of any grave importance?
Ooh,
I
that's
think I'm just gonna say Miss again.
fair enough.
Oh wait, Doctor Man. Actually, I do kind of want to figure out the man backstory.
Oh, we have a few. We'd like to learn more about how, because we've read the burger entries. We want to learn more about that entire zone. I
Oh,
think.
yeah, yeah. I also read the burger entries like just a few hours before the stream actually.
Yeah. Get you primed up and fatten you up with meat.
I did have McDonald's earlier.
Oh, it's spooky.
Ookie ookie.
Yeah.
Number 9. If you have witnessed events or entities of the perception range outside those associated with Vern, is there any detail of such that you believe could be interesting or useful to me in this situation?
We can't think of that off the top of our head. We'll pass.
Entities of the perception range outside those associated with Vern, is there? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of too late for us to tell him this. The comic's already, updated well past beyond this point.
Hmm.
Sorry, Lexicovermus, we're a bit late to the party.
Hmm. Anyway,
Number
he's
10. How would you overall evaluate Fern's character and personality?
Selesnya color identity.
Lesnia color identity.
Yeah.
Number 11. Have your experiences with these events affected anything in your life of your gray zone host? Or, whoops, I mean yourself.
Yes, actually, it gives it gives us a good thing to stream a lot of
And it,
time, and it's very much influential and allows us to interact with our friend Legend a lot. So it's
and it
made it very
allows me to, interact with my friend Maddie.
yeah. It
I
yeah
wouldn't be sitting in your head right now if not for this webcomic.
yeah fair enough. Yeah
Actually, when did I make the me? I think I made it for this webcomic.
yeah you did.
Okay.
We think you did,
Uh,
yeah, because you made a different you for the ever mysterious and never going to be revealed Plan 9 from Outer Space stream. So,
oh yeah. Number 5. Has any detail of your encounters with the reception range expanded your knowledge of your own world? That is to say, have you learned an interesting new fact, large or small, about your reality, little buzzer?
hmm.
I believe I have. Bleach has. Oh, I learned that Band Aids are a brand name.
Ah, yeah, that's true. But
Yeah,
there's
Bogleach mentioned it earlier in the comic.
hmm, fair enough. We're sure we've learned something, but we can't remember what. We do have
Uh,
memory issues, which
did you know about the potential for bacteriophage therapy before you read the comic?
bacteriophage therapy. We're not.
Oh, if our immune systems ever become immune to antibiotics, we're going to use bacteriophages to
Yeah,
cure our
we
ailments.
think we did. We think we did. Yeah.
Okay, then you didn't learn. I mean, did you? I mean, did you know about the Band-Aid thing?
Yeah, we did know about the Band-Aid thing. We definitely learned something along the way in terms of actual information, and of course about how concepts as a whole work and the like. But yeah.
Hmm. Oh, wait. I just you learned that the Circle of Willis is a thing.
Oh yeah, we did just today.
Just today, just this stream.
Yes, which is weird because we've reanimated corpses before. You'd think we'd recognize it, but
Well,
nope.
I'm pretty sure it's like a small like, part of blood vessel arteries in the brain. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right. Something from your life that reminded you of the hospital or associated elements in an interesting or amusing fashion?
Oh yeah. Definitely what's happened with the stream. There are times where we feel like the conceptual layers of both the comic and our streams and everything are kind of breaking down as well, which is very funny to think about.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything like that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Fair enough.
Number 13. How often do you read books? Sorry. Is there a work of the written word or other media you would like to recommend to others in your present communication channel based on their interest in my own reality?
Oh, Magnus Archives. Easy.
Into archives, huh? I should
Yeah,
read
it's a
those.
great podcast.
I will. Hmm.
It's a horror podcast, to be clear, but it's also a
Is there a,
workplace comedy.
is there a work of the written word or other media? I do have another media. Uh,
Yeah.
there's this indie cartoon show that's on YouTube right now. It's called Outsider Trading.
Oh, we thought you were going to make a joke about this obscure little show. You might have heard of it called Digital Sick. But yeah, Outsider Trading? What's that?
Outsider Trading. It's basically like so there's this species called the Ouroboros, and they are like fourth dimensional beings, higher than humans,
Ooh,
and they trade stocks, they trade planets,
really?
and the yeah, and if a species on a planet, uh, progresses, like invents fire or invents lightning or
Uh,
invents technology or whatever,
oh, this is a
that
cute concept.
increases the value of each individual member of that species.
That's cute. We like this idea.
Cut to a big boss man who has Earth under his possession, but humans still haven't invented fire yet. They're kind of just throwing babies off of cliffs right now.
What?
And he says, "Okay, humanity's fucked, and there's not going to be much value in this." So he pawns it off to an old employee of his, going, "Ha ha ha! Yes, I sold him some worthless dirt ball."
And
And
then
then the
once the humans invent fire and then go through a lot of different industrial ages.
yeah, but specifically uh, interacting with the species you quote unquote own is against the rules because it's insider trading.
Mm,
But
yeah.
that's exactly what our protagonist does.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about it. But I think
Yeah.
it's really neat.
I think it's really neat too, based on how you described it. It's very nice. Uh,
You're reading the comments?
yeah, just looking at this one. What's it? The red crab claw lies and is the enemy. Ooh, pretty important. That's important to know. All right, let's.
All right, we're reading.
Yes.
All right, page 30 of this side quest.
Oh, could you make
The
it?
knowledge! It fills me. It is neat.
It is neat.
It is neat. Gotta catch my breath here.
Yeah, fair enough.
Oh dear. Did you break the professor? Kidding. Promise. This is good. Maybe for all of us. You filled his little head with everything about this clown show. He may as well have been here with you since before page 1. He knows it all. Every detail of the canon, every head canon and hypothetical, every conceivable perceptive one could have on every breath Fern and her little friends have taken, and then some. The algorithms clicking into place in that metaphysical brain of his are really something else. If only someone could transcribe them all to tasty language.
Oh.
Okay, time to read all of this. Are you
Alright.
ready, Maddie?
All right, hold on. OBS Studio is having some trouble.
Oh, the recording isn't fucked.
Yeah, it's not going to be screwed over. Trust us on that. Just the stream will.
Okay.
Anyways. Go ahead.
Alrighty, Kinnaroonies, don't mind my calculating, and I'm just hitting on some kind of thought of Roonies in the old noodle. Can you scroll down?
Oh, sorry.
It'll certainly make perfect sense if you just remember to.
If only Maxine were here, she'd make perfect static notes. Anyways.
I was not going to read all of that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Narration here. Really enjoyed that last bit. Little guy's brain was about to go haywire either way, but you sure put his sanity through the ringer while you still could. Congrats! I wonder if he'll even come out of this defense mode with his mind in one piece now. Say, wasn't somebody else trying to kill him or something? Ah, that's right. How's that going for them?
Trust me, boys. I dated enough man-children to smell a nerd in any zone.
What? I could swear it was brand new. Wow. That must mean your meats just effortlessly look that fashionably coordinated. Are some of you even using them to consume organic materials as you read along? Wow, it's really amazing how good you are at squishing biomass into paste with your spit hole, and how that's not even disgusting. Good job. I bet you'll destroy it all before it even knows what hit it. Anyway, where was I? Sorry, I got so distracted by how great you look. What I really wanted to say is that we've had some good times, haven't we? That's why I share with you bosoms of mine a fun fact I discovered between the last layer and this one. I wasn't aware of this because, for unrelated reasons, I wasn't around for the last one. But it turns out that the first things purged by Professor's XK protocol are lesser metaphysical symboids from the lower chartreuse to just about Class C. No problem for mighty higher level symboids like us narratives, so don't even worry about me. I just tell you this because I simply noticed how this was a fun fact, and I said to myself, hey, those handsome, lovely meat globs are a type of thing that likes fun, and we're fortunate I can give you the fun I found thanks to how your cores are full of. Wait a minute. Oh, shoot, me and my big mouth. I'm so sorry to you, my favorite thingies, but I so intensively forgot about your buzzers. Darn it, the buzzers. Oh no. Weren't buzzers barely even a pitiful class G or something like that? But that would mean. Oh. It would mean this event could purge you guys too.
What?
I mean, just you guys. I could fry the buzzers right out of your cores, and the rest of your aesthetically pleasant but tragically fragile meat bodies would fall apart in the process. Darn it.
Oh, no.
And
Well,
Ah,
we're
nuts.
immortal, but still, legend. Stay with us, man.
I think it's just the buzzers.
Also
Don't
the
worry.
physical bodies.
There's more text. Reading the story explains the story.
Thank you, Professor. Um, go ahead.
And nuts. You know something else? Not just about all those emotions that I have, just like yours would feel sadly if all of you died like lesser verminoids while I so easily survived. What a waste, in my opinion. A real bad waste of all your hard work secreting all those nice greases and just plum grape vapors that come out of you. I know this isn't a popular opinion, but I, for one, am not ashamed at all to say that I don't want you to get dead and waste your meats because I just really care about you. You know? Right back mutually, how we all just care about each other. So, as your superior, I'm not in any danger here, but as you must be tired of me saying so frequently, the innately superior have a responsibility to the innately inferior. So, of course, I'm more than happy to help you.
You might as well he'll cook us like a Thanksgiving turkey.
We just have to find a narratively appropriate way to wrap up this story arc ourselves. Let me think. Oh. There is one way. As strenuous as it would be for me, I am more than capable of deliberately shifting the narrative to your choice of protagonist. Just once. We'll still get flashes of the other relevant narrative threads, of course, but you'll get to pick the entity you influence most closely until you're out of the library. Choose wisely. My respectably intelligent and or sexy compatriots, every path has equal potential to. That's what you've chosen, huh? No, it's fine. No, really. I could have made any of them work, and I stick by that. I also said I'd take this seriously, and narration is only as good as its word, in a very literal sense. Here we go then. Ahem. The library was chaos, long brought to the brink of collapse. Its last shreds of conceptual stability may well have fizzled from reality without a fuss. The outburst of a certain Willis not triggered the alarm, in a manner of speaking. More obvious and immediate danger had initiated the annoying little professor's shift into what was, for the curious, a much closer visual representation of the entity's true self than the one you've been accustomed to. In this narration's opinion, far more respectable adversary. I'll return to something more primal, in a sense, before the abstract force began to manifest into your perceptual parameters as the concept of literacy, for reasons that would be truly impossible to you, or admittedly even myself, to fully comprehend. As far as you and I should be concerned, this was all to say that the concept of literacy had just hatched into a very big, very agitated cylinder of biomaterial ending in a lot of terribly sharp parts. It also wasn't alone. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. Who is riding on a fish?
What? What are the fishes supposed to be?
I don't know. Ogleach, fish this.
Shut up.
All around the endless sea of bookshelves, library subconcepts were undergoing a similar sort of mask off, emergency devolution. Oh wait, this is the fish we saw at the start of the story,
Hmm.
I think.
Yeah, it is.
Emergency de-evolution, or however you want to frame it, as much to vie for dominance amongst themselves as to protect their environment from existential threats. Media formats, both living and dead, arose from the Stygian trenches between labyrinthine bookshelves, hoping to either retain or reclaim their importance in the grand scheme of reality, while core conceptoid mildews and silverfish gathered to feast on the remains of the losers. Ah, that's a silverfish.
Ah.
Meddlesome old flesh would no doubt be purged from the library in this cataclysmic process, but there was little predicting what the zone might look like once it re-emerged from its own rubble. And in the midst of it all, unnoticed by the looming monstrosities, the true agent of chaos, the unwitting hitman of the old flesh, The gray zone meat blob, so deviously simple its steady damage to the library had gone insidiously unnoticed.
Oh god, damn it. We know it.
Name to be remembered, each filling it with a little more pride than the last. How loved it must be, after all, to have been named so many times by the human caretaker it considered to be its all knowing, all powerful mother. Names like. Read this in Cheryl's voice.
Shut up. Please shut up. Shut the hell up. Knock it off. You bastard. I hate you.
Not in the house.
Not in the house. Not on the floor. What's the matter with you? Why, dear God, why? I should have got a cat. I should have
And
got a cat.
its favorite name of all, the one its beautiful, perfect mother uttered so frequently with such powerful emphasis on every magnificent syllable.
No. Bad.
No bad, as he thought to himself, happily wiggled the gross hairy tip of his spinal column as he watched the surrounding orgy of violence and destruction. My most name is No Bad, he thought to himself proudly. The most no bad boy. The most yes good boy. Thought this thing that our lives all now depended upon. No, really, very good choice, I'm sure. Don't worry about it.
No.
It should be stated that, until this point, your vicarious experience with the perception range has been almost exclusively through a human lens. Even what you know of Willis is effectively just a facet of Willis concept adapted to the taproot of hospital concept that connects to your world, and Isaac is much the flesh of a dead earthly man, as he is the flesh of the original big thingamabob. A Doug, however, is one of the many species of meats that evolved on a flying piece of wet soil largely independent from the flow of concept, and was therefore, funny enough, a being whose perception of reality is less like your own than anything you'd have yet encountered since Layer 001. You, for example, know the difference between a rubber boot and a rubber ball because of the different contexts in which you interact with them. But the Doug, whose sense of self is a mouth and a nose piloted around by an unseen mass that gets hungry, might categorize them as the same exact object based on how they feel between its teeth. This makes a great analogy for how perceptual spheres work in general, but it isn't entirely the same thing. It's something simpler and cruder in many ways, yes, but simultaneously so much more complex, so nuanced, so impenetrable a boundary that your ability to form any sort of bond with these other meets, the different meats that slowly deformed out of each other on your wet dirt, would blow the minds of entities as vast as the doctors or the professor if they took half a layer to even care. It's like if you found out your ancient ancestors had in fact cobbled together something similar to the internet from mud and stone and some worms. Imagine relating to another being with no existosphere or gels or perceptosphere at all. I say all this primarily so you can understand the challenge I have undertaken to filter this little meat's perception into words you recognize. And so you understand that its reasoning will still never make the same sort of sense to you as that of Willis or even Isaac. So don't ask me to explain what exactly was going on in its gurgling skull tissues. Those little mental machinations were in fact quite complex as unfathomable monstrosities tore one another to shreds all around it, wreaking unimaginable havoc on a landscape that both defines and is defined by abstract concepts of literature, media, and data. But for all intents and purposes, what ultimately went through Nobad's head in the eye of this storm was. Yay!
We have to say, we have figured out that this is our little flesh agent. Just a little dog, just causing chaos.
The boy!
The boy. No bad. The boy.
But then he stopped, and then he cocked his little head knob to one side, then to the other, confused for a moment by the swelling chatter of gibberish suddenly flooding his crude doggy concept core. He didn't know what you were or most of what you were communicating, but he knew you were things. And if there was one thing that excited him, it was definitely things. As it dawned on him that he was not alone externally or internally, his extra vertebrae began to wobble more furiously than ever, and he returned to running in small, aimless circles, emitting a sort of retching noise that was the only noise this particular chunk of dug meat could produce. Not so much a noise I believe you expect from his kind, but a sort of gurgling ha ha, if I must transcribe it. Unfortunately, an assortment of undesirably large and violent things were stumbling ever closer, and as near as the narration could tell, this was not dissuading Nobad's current plan to continue running in celebratory circles, yakking his rapturous delight to no one in particular. Is
Pronounce
that a
that.
swear?
Pronounce that.
Psah! With my mastery of the narrative art, I'd be able to update you on the other things shortly, but it was imperative you come up with something for this thing to do before its biomass was splattered across a zone that was not equipped to reconstitute it as anything but a few stray pamphlets of its final thoughts, a newspaper clipping at best.
Ooh.
No bad, the dog? That's the right spelling of it in your letters? Okay. Not what I would have called them, but no bad, the dog was finally, utterly
Failing.
failing to actually listen to anything you were trying to communicate. Fortunately, it wasn't necessary that he truly understand you, just as Fern, Isaac, and at one point the J-Man had often gleaned the overall gist of what you thought they should do. A generalized subconscious new directive began to congeal out of the stinking muck that was Nobad's rotten little brain, which he more or less understood as "Go get!" She was here! His wonderful and loving mother creature. The
All
one
right, hold
who
on.
didn't.
We'll say go get in Doug's perception of the go get.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so you voiced the.
The
Yeah.
commands.
Yeah, the commands would be framed as his owner.
Yeah, at the happy-go-lucky, silly version of Cheryl.
AKA Drunk Cheryl.
Anyways.
She was here! His wonderful and loving mother creature. The one who did not have a name he had ever bothered to learn, but had gifted him so many names of his own, picked apart for uncountable layers by the crude, ancient prototypical letters and numbers that constitute the library's equivalent to microbial decomposers. Alas, this poetic natural process was lost on Nobad, as he looked on that distant wafting scent of cigarette breath. It was not long into his newfound quest, however, that he caught whiff of something else now familiar to him, and his flimsy cognitive processes were jerked once more in an entirely new direction. It was faint, and it was slightly different, but Nobad was sure of what he had just smelled. Grandma was here.
Uh-oh. Oh, it's the grandma.
The dog's path throughout the shuddering, quaking library was a winding one. Occasionally, he would stop to roll in the bleeding remains of a slaughtered magazine rack, or mark an injured thesaurus as his territory, intent on finding Mother, but distracted regardless by every exciting new stimulus. In the process, he managed to almost expertly miss every possible encounter with the library's sole remaining nodule of the old flesh, the thing you refer to as Isaac. This was currently fortunate for two reasons. The first of these reasons was that Isaac actually cannot abide dog creatures, as was passingly established many pages ago. Virtually the only character trait Isaac actually inherited directly from the man who once utilized much of his biomass. The other of the two reasons was that Isaac probably didn't need any other distractions right now as he attempted to communicate with Willis. I did say we'd be checking up on these things, didn't I? There was, fortunately, Quite a bit of Willis for Isaac to work with, but the flesh zoid, or slob, scrambled up the towering mass of veins and arteries to what was more or less analogous to Willis's head, babbling his curious slob speech in a desperate hope to snap Willis out of his rampage. As we have also previously established, Willis does not actually understand Isaac as well as either of them believe. But, while the situation seemed quite hopeless to the putrid pinkish eye creature,
Sorry, what?
what?
Sorry, you cut out.
Uh, what word did I cut out of that?
Eye creature.
The putrid pinkish eye creature. There was indeed some small internal aspect of Willis that at least recognized the source of the vocalizations, if not their literal meaning, a frightened and confused little boy, asleep inside a murderous monster, dimly remembering the sound of a dear friend's voice. Would Isaac successfully break through that haze before Willis and the professor mindlessly tore each other limb from pseudo limb? In my humble opinion, yes, almost certainly maybe, but enough about all that. Evading one of Willis's roving, blood-hungry sub-tendrils by barely a hair, Nobad had already caught whiff of something new to gnaw apart into gooey, spittle-covered chunks, or saturate with his bodily waste, or otherwise defile and ruin as per the natural directives of his kind. It was fascinating little piece. It was a fascinating little piece of something or other. Something that reeked of the fluids and the filth of 1,000 other dog things, and yet none at all. A facsimile of the scent of dogs. The idea of something dogs have slobbered over and dragged through muck and caked with their dirty little hairs. Yeesh. You life forms really are messed up sometimes. This is all normal stuff to you? Really? You invite these thingies into your homes made of what now? Giant plant flesh? You build a big box out of dead parts of other life forms, and you just roll around, this flooding the thing's brain flesh with a complex mix of memories that were not, by your definitions, necessarily his own.
Hmm.
The tiny dog slurped and gnashed at the squirming severed arm of the giant murderous plush doll mail carrier left behind after its battle with a woman and two dolphins in a huge cosmic library. Just to reiterate where we're at here, and just to reiterate where we're at here. And as his body took in the disgusting contaminants saturating the gruesome object, his little doggy brain did an admittedly impressive thing. A normal gray zone dog can inhale a few particles of another creature's dried urea and instantaneously understand far more about that creature than you ever could through visual information alone. But even this pales in comparison to what an even vestigially branchinated canid can accomplish. Had the data been translated directly to print, and fine art at that, but not the baby stuff, the web of raw concept intertwined with the tapestry of flavors he now sucked from the fibrous limb of a fallen monster could have filled one of the library's skyscraper like bookcases, and then some. How much the dog understood of that data was rather another matter, but the memories of anything that overlapped with his own conceptual parameters were as fresh and clear as any knowledge conceivably could be in his spongy, dripping clod of a mind. With every slopping, squelching bite, his own memories pulsed with the experiences of every vaguely dog-adjacent entity that had ever crossed paths with the dead monster. Its zonal dominion and its associated concepto beings. The thoughts were brief and abstract, but you could count on your beloved and dutiful narration to filter whatever might be salvaged into something you can approximately fathom. The result is a bit weird, but it will have to do. Click to read.
Read is in quotes.
Yeah, but there are words here.
The memory of one who has found a new friend. New friend tastes like favorite best toy. But this toy makes more kinds of sounds with smells and tastes and other things in the sounds. The sounds mean more than this one has ever understood before from the tall dogs. The friendly speaking toy thing tells this one it is very sick. It is so very sick that it is very important. Many things are sick. To understand how this one is sick will be to understand how other things are sick. The friendly thing takes something out of this one. It keeps taking something out. This one feels tired. Its memories stop. The memory of another one, a different one, is very sick already when it smells its favorite ball. The ball has different new shape. Maybe this is not the ball. The not ball smells happy. Not ball says it cannot help this one, but it can help others. Not ball says that this one's sick is a new kind of sick. It is making this one's home sick. It will make this one's family sick. Not ball needs something from this one. This one does not understand, but it is too sick to care. Something hurts, but then it hurts less. Everything hurts less. It does not feel sick because it does not feel as much now at all. This one goes away to no place at all. The memory of another one, harder to understand. Not the same kind of thing as the other ones, but its meaning is similar in its very different home. A treat appears. The treat's strange. The treat talks. The treat talks about why this one feels sick. It should not feel sick. The sick belonged in a different place. The sick should not have been able to make this different kind of one so sick. The sick is getting stronger. It is the beginning of another kind of sick that will be even bigger. The tree says that it needs to show the others the sick, and maybe they will understand. This one does not know the others, but it knows this is true. It does not want to be sick anymore. It does not run away when the tree hurts and pulls out something that this one needed to keep being this one. Maybe it will be okay. The memory of another different one. This one does not know where its family has gone. There's something here that makes this one scared, but also it makes this one feel safe. It feels like this one's family, but it is not this one's family. This one also feels very sick. One of the not family but family is smallest. The smallest has taken something from inside of this one. It has hurt this one by doing this, but this one knows this is a good thing. It is important. The smallest one says that there's a very big and bad kind of sick happening. This one can tell this is true because the sick hurts this one very big and must be very bad. The biggest other ones do not understand. Maybe they cannot understand. This one hopes that it has helped, and then this one is not one anymore. Oh, we think we get it. Dr. Fleetgood is not part of the hospital proper, so he's not as affected.
Oh. Ooh. That's that's really interesting. I never even considered that.
The memory of another, more different one. This is the most different one with a memory that can be learned. This one has been taken away from this one's mommy and daddy. There is a little one here who feels like good, except for that the little one has opened this one. The little one is showing something from inside of this one to some big ones. The big ones smell like this one, and like that one, and like mommy and daddy, and every other kind of thing. They are pleased by what they see from inside of this one. They say that they will help to fix this. They will help the little one to make everything good again, and then the little one will be very good. Will this also be very good? This one is excited to think that it will be good, and then it is not anything. The memory of another one. This one is so sick, it hurts bad. The thing that is the itchy is here. This one has never liked the itchy, but this one is too weak to itch at the itchy. The itchy says that this will be the last time it is here. This one does not know what the last time means, but it feels like a good thing. Itchy starts to hurt this one, but Itchy says that this is very important. It says that it can use this one to make the others see something.
Had the deranged little beast salivating even more than his usual level of salivating, which was already enough to make people say, "Oh God, how could something so small even keep generating that much fluid at once?" But this was different. He could never possibly comprehend exactly what it is he had just absorbed, but there was definitely something in him that would not have wanted those things. Whatever those things were to have happened to other dog creatures. This is perhaps not the sort of notion that his squirming brain cells might have groped in their own grubby tendrils for more than a fleeting moment, were it not for the flood of more complex emotions now delivered to his core by the collective frenzy of a buzzer cloud. It was as if almost as if sometimes there very well might be other things like himself or his mother, which is to say that some things were good or bad for reasons other than how delicious they were, how fun they were to rip apart, or how convenient they were to drench with biological waste. Sometimes, perhaps, things could exist without being of any benefit to himself, and perhaps, in a weird and funny sort of way, some of the things that might happen to those other things might be not good, even if they never affected him or his mother or the deliciousness of anything at all. Do dog things have concepts of right and wrong in the same manner that you do? The simple answer is yes, and the complex answer is no. Not even any two of you can be said to perceive things in the same context, and that's just because of your slightly different experiences and perspectives as two creatures with the same set of underlying biological directives and sensory systems. But to twist and mangle the beast's feelings into your closest possible parameters, he was beginning to process that something, yes, bad, had been happening. In other words, the very opposite of himself in everything that mattered to him. And what made this thing the opposite of no bad, which was him, is that a lot of things, more than two, were going to also feel yes bad if this mysterious something kept happening. This was not to say it was by much, mind you, but Nobad's blackened little doggy heart had just discovered something resembling compassion, and it was entirely due to your influence, as you're a bit of a more difficult time of it than they felt they had signed up for. Gone was their enthusiasm to make a quick profit off of whomever or whatever ordered the final termination of the professor, which was most likely the same fine friends who were currently confident they had weakened him to such a vulnerable point in the first place. And, in its place, a singular drive to get their miserable hides out of the library before they went down with it. Fortunately for him, it wasn't difficult to locate a musty, damp crevice in the library's parameters that a couple of shifty, slimy enough creatures should have no difficulty worming their way through. Unfortunately for the rest of us, there was no such gap in the emergency security membranes that wouldn't fry symbionts like buzzers, bleeders, reverberators, or even valuable and charming narrators. Had we opted to follow these routes, they might have very well tried to abandon us here, so we would have to put some extra effort into inverting that scenario. I suppose
Risers to themselves.
I would, lady, but they don't even know they have them. I'm not sure they have any idea what they are, to be honest. They're actually in a pretty funny situation. You see,
I don't care. Kinda trying to avoid existential annihilation here, weirdo.
aren't the only one, Toots. For instance, there's a certain miserable wad of mostly reeking hair and dried saliva we're trying to ride out of this dump,
Oh no.
said Cheryl. Yep. You didn't actually think he was here, did you? It was just one of the only zones left where you could find anything to do. Cheryl hung her head and gritted her teeth, balling her weirdly small, clammy hands into fists as she let all the rank air out of her mistreated lungs.
Damn it!
She finally exclaimed, before emitting a slightly too moist grumble and dragging one of the little creepy hands down her face in frustration. The wretched smaller dolphin, Blowhole 2, had been observing this awkward exchange in silence before finally piping up with a nasally, you two love boys wanna clue us in on what you're yapping about? Cheryl took a while to respond, tapping her foot, which was also weirdly small for her species, as she contemplated her next course of action.
I can't leave yet.
The dolphin blinked, and, confused as everyone else present, including even the narration, "Who's got some kind of crazy unalive wish, Fern?" Cheryl straightened herself up, expression changing from one of stubborn irritation to irritated determination.
There's something I have to do. You do what you want. Besides, I'm not even Fern.
The dolphin reeled, nearly fainting from the shock, barely caught in its sibling's flippers. If Fern wasn't Fern, that meant Use bamboozinated us? We was getting flimity flammed, fraudulously hoodwinked?
Yeah, it was a real challenge.
Said Cheryl, rolling her eyes and already turning to leave. Not so fast, said Blowhole number 2, standing back up and sliding his hat down his forehead to demonstrate that things were getting serious. Cheryl looked back over her shoulder, eyebrow raised.
There a problem?
As a matter of fact, yeah, said the dolphin. Problem being, you ain't no dolphin, but somehow you outwizened a dolphin, and a dolphin even as thoroughly in-outwiseable as yours truly.
Hmm.
Cheryl's eyes narrowed, and her existospine rippled, ready to obliterate the buffoons if it came down to it. Blowhole 2 and his brother, Blowhole, exchanged a couple of silent nods before Blowhole 2 stood up taller than you'd think he physically could. The crunchy popping from within his body would agree with you, and removed his hat entirely to show you that he really meant business. By dolphin code, he said. Looks like you's the new boss. This would, in fact, be the only instance in which anything, anywhere, had ever, or would ever, invoke any kind of dolphin code. It was entirely likely that these particular specimens had simply been duped at some point into believing that there was such a thing by any of the other superior swindlers constituting most of the population of not only sentient life, but a fair number of non-sentient quasi-life. But it was probably best for everyone not to look a gift horse in the blowhole.
Obviously.
Said Cheryl, as she turned back around and continued on her way, with an insulted and impatient sort of tone that said,
You're lucky I forgive you for assuming I wouldn't know about the famous dolphin code.
Sorry, ma'am. Of course, ma'am, said Blowhole 2, because that had worked as he scrambled his feet to catch up. It looked like we hadn't seen the last of these idiots just yet, but we could definitely use this to our advantage. With their horrible new subordinates, Cheryl marched straight back into the chaos of the library, ungratefully waving away the narration that literally only ever helps everyone, and had just done precisely that even. I mean, who do you think convinced them that there was a dolphin code?
Oh, fair enough. We were more thinking of, the fact that you told Cheryl about the character should told Cheryl about the dog.
There's also that.
Hmm.
Elsewhere in the library, colossal beasts continued to wage their confused and chaotic war, with Independent Willis all with, with Independent Willis all their own. Was
Wills.
that Wills? With
Yeah.
independent wills all their own. The great bookworm's golden tentacles reduced bookshelves to splinters and tore up great gouts of tacky, dirty carpeting as they sought to obliterate everything and anything the entity suspected of undesirable corruption, which at the moment was more or less anything and everything in general. The attention of its core self, however, was by default fixated on the single most formidable threat that was not in its natural zone, a thing analogous to a little boy who throwing a very disruptive little fit in what was supposed to be a place of peaceful study. It was a situation that, at the very least, warranted a nice harsh shh from your typical librarian, but this particular little boy was out of a scale existentially hazardous enough that he had gone beyond even a Category 12 shushing scenario. This was a shushing that, if successful, would either shush this noisy child back 1,000 or so layers of lived experience, or shush the entire library back to the first squiggly line etched into a hunk of rock. Willis, for his part, was not entirely cognizant of this situation. He was engaged in the conceptozonal equivalent of dropping to the floor, kicking his little feet, and making some sort of noise like as as he let out several thousand layers of pent up frustration. But as far as you bunch need to be concerned, this process manifested as Willis getting very, very big and trying to drain the conceptual equivalent of blood from his entire surroundings, which was, unfortunately, only making him crankier, as most of his surroundings used things like languages and numerical systems for blood, and even the ones with honest to goodness biology, squirting fluids between anything resembling organs or tissues, are mostly utilizing things like ink or glue or whiteout in lieu of anything like hemoglobin. And Willis wasn't nearly old enough to start processing such a loose variety of blood analogs into the real thing without at least a tummy ache analog. You physically living things are kind of a mess, honestly. I don't know why you go to this much trouble just to ride around in a bunch of substances and just stuff all stuck together. Takes all kinds, like they say. It was unfortunate that this particular mass of stuff was about to kill all of us, and the part of it that would have not wanted this to happen, the Willis you really know, was metaphysically taking a little nap in the depths of the monstrous thing now slurping the last droplets of satire from the paper veins of a dying political cartoon, and only getting angry that it tasted too dry. Adrift in a peaceful void was little mind his little mind caught only fuzzy, muffled snippets of the destruction his exterior was engaged in dim vibrations, barely whispers, of the collective concern you've had for his well being. He was too busy dreaming, or some equivalent of such by your weird definitions, of much nicer situations he had experienced before things around the hospital, his home and his family, got weirder than they were supposed to be.
Hmm.
Oh god, this page is really long.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's a long page.
Willis remembered his mother showed him some of her favorite arts. She showed him a big flat object she had covered in colors that looked just like her favorite face. She let him see an alive thing whose parts she had changed around because the thing's parts had not worked right before. She showed him some squishy matter she had shaped into a shape like Dr. Miser and then hardened with exposure to thermal energy. It actually wasn't shaped like Miser is shaped, but somehow Willis could tell it was him. She said this was an abstraction or something like that. Isn't she lovely?
Isn't she wonderful?
And that everything is abstract and just wondered why, so he stuck his head in the thing's perceptosphere, and he looked through its citers. What he saw was so horrible, he never wanted to do that again. But he knew what he saw was his own home and his own family, the hospital and the doctors, the way that the sick thing was seeing them. Then the sick thing reached out with a part of itself and broke one of the doctors too. He could not remember that doctor, but he remembered that this made him cry. It was lots and lots of layers for that doctor to unbreak, but they still unsicked the sick thing that had broke him, and they were all so happy about it. Even that doctor was happy about it. He said he was sorry that the thing had to be so afraid and so hurt, but that he was very happy they had managed to make it unsick with his help. Willis didn't really understand. Hmm. Willis remembered his first tiny injury, when something full of tasty, tasty bloods had tried to stop him from drinking the bloods. It had stuck a sharp bit of its matter into Willis, and it felt burning hot for a long time. The doctor named, Phage had patched Willis up and explained to him how the thing he had tried to drink had tried to stop him because everything with a vessel made of stuff wants to keep that stuff in a particular way. And that this is. Oh, I got like. I think I feel a burp, but like it's not happening.
That sucks.
Yeah. Keep stuff in a particular way. And that this is even what Willis was doing when he was drinking things at all. And that by drinking things, he was keeping his stuff the way it needed to be. A mechanism of self preservationating or something like that. Everything wants to be a certain way, the doctor had said, but nothing can be the way it wants without changing something else. Sometimes this makes something else sad, or hurting, or even gone. but it isn't really right or wrong. We're all just being ways the best we can. And the hospital fixes things that have gotten the wrong way for the really wrong reason.
Hey.
Willis's memories jumped to his meeting with Fern, the gray zone creature person. Though the image was becoming fuzzy, his freshest memories, the first to begin slipping away from him in his current state, Fern had been looking for her little thing like her, like how Willis was the little thing like his mother too. She had smelled full of tasty blood, but it had been just one layer after Willis had decided he was going to make sure it was okay to drink things before drinking them, or maybe just only when he was really super hungry. He was glad he did. Fern was a grown up of the kind of thing that she was, but she was so small. She could get hurt so easy. He had decided not to always tell her when she almost got unexisted because it would seem like she could always see it, and she might have gotten too scared if she knew. Willis kind of felt like the grown up sometimes, but that funny little creature was still somebody else's mom, like his mom. She was smart the same way. He liked that he could be a grown up about things, always trying to eat her existospines, but that she could be like a grown up when he didn't always understand what was going on. Willis tried to remember why he had met Fern, and why she was looking for her Babely thing. That's right. His mother was busy trying to fix the Babely, but Fern and Willis couldn't get to where she was. Some things had said Fern would need to go there and get her Babely to really fix things, and that the hospital was too broken to know this. That was it, maybe. Other things had said some different stuff, maybe. Willis remembered a different thing he had met once that was like Fern. It was taller and skinnier and much more louder. It was breaking another alive thing. When it saw Willis, it made another loud noise and tried to break him too, but he drank all its bloods in one bite and it stopped. Tasted all right. A little nasty, a little like the gushy things that had been crawling around the hospital more and more. He had stopped trying to drink those because they didn't even have anything like bloods, exactly. Meats, but not bloods. Fleshes. Flesh. It tasted odd. This memory reminded him of something else, though. One? Someone like the gushy things. Willis thought he heard something new through the surrounding murk. A funny noise, but it kind of made him a little happier to hear it. He couldn't remember what exactly this noise was from. Perhaps you would have been able to help Willis out of this had we not opted to follow the dog thingy. But hey, this was probably going to work itself out. Didn't you learn anything new? Was it worth popping in? I don't actually care. It's just in the interest of my job as the narration and all.
Hmm.
Anyway, back to the dog. Nobad, the physically diminutive yet enormously wretched Canid, was now roughly 2 layers into his little doggy existential crisis. Have been in your time? 9 weeks? 14 years? You didn't wander off to one of your bathrooms, did you? You'd better hurry back or you'll miss whatever vile thing the soggy biomass was going to do next. He had just bore witness to some deep, dark truths that troubled him about as profoundly as his kind were capable. And he had found that this is not mitigated in any way by eating, excreting, or soiling any more of his surroundings. He even managed to catch that little vibrant vertebral knob that stuck out of his backside and given it a good gnashing, just in case it was the wicked mastermind behind his woes. But then he looked around and noticed that nothing else about the universe had changed in any obvious way. So he must have been wrong, all the while making a mournful sound he believed was a flawless imitation, all the while making a mournful sound he believed was a flawless imitation of how the tall beasts like his mother sounded when they spoke. But to those tall beasts sounded only like some sort of hobgoblin or boogdy monster wheezing, wrong, 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 while gnarling a throatful of potato salad. Still not really sure what's up with your kind in these dog characters. You just sort of willingly sustain them in your presence just for kicks? Nobad spent quite a bit of layer scrambling about the library floor. leaving an ever so subtle yellowish grease stain from the part of its back he could reach easily enough to an ever so subtle yellowish grease stain from the part of his back he couldn't reach easily enough to ever accidentally clean while he was trying to taste the last thing he'd been wallowing in. He scrambled until his little flailing head would bump into something, and keep scrambling until he pushes his way around the obstacle, still utterly indifferent to the fact that, yes, immense monstrosities were still fighting for their lives all around him. The surrounding reality was collapsing under the carnage of primordial concepts made flesh. But he was bothered, damn it! And he would scramble as much as he pleased until something, or someone, came by to fix it. Unless, of course, there was actually some hypothetical action he could take other than simply scramble. Dimly, very dimly, his subconscious could detect three things of interest. The scent of Grandma had grown stronger, which was in fact the scent of the old flesh. But for those who hadn't worked this out yet, the only remaining instance of this in the library was your good pal, the Isaac. Isaac, therefore, registered to Nomad's brain as an authority figure higher than even his mother, though it was also been established that Isaac is not fond of dog things. Does that necessarily mean something undesirable will happen if these two meet? Who knows? But there was something else too. From the same direction he had been getting little whiffs of his mother, a smell he faintly recognized from his many travels with her, the one that was usually not good. The smell carried notes of predation, speed, sonic vibration, and briny, salty sort of quality. It also bore that uncanny funk of an idea given life before there was ever a world fit for it to live in, whatever that means. This confused him because why would his mother be in the company of these creatures without taking them apart yet? Maybe she wasn't really there. Maybe they were trying to trick him. And again, maybe she was saving them, like all good mothers probably do, so he could play with the pieces. Finally, he picked up on something newer still, and a little more distant. It felt important, but he didn't like it, because it reminded him a little of the place his mother, always otherwise so brilliantly infallible, had accidentally put him once when he had gotten terribly, terribly sick, like the other dogs he'd smelled that sent him on this whole psychological spiral to begin with. The not mothers there had done the most terrible, most awful things, like putting him in water without any mud or engine oil or dead frogs floating in it until they had taken away all the flavors he'd been keeping in his hair and wrapped him in a towel that didn't smell like anybody's crevices at all before they stuck a sharp thing in him for just no reason. Fortunately, his mother had realized the only mistake she had ever made and came swiftly to his rescue, which was, in fact, when he finally knew for certain that she was the very best one of all the different things that there ever were anywhere forever. Oh boy, was he lucky that he randomly stopped being sick after all that nonsensical torture. Why, then, did some squiggly little pathway in his brain want to go towards this distant smell? Good thing it was slowly but surely weakening.
Uh-oh.
Compelled by a mix of his own decrepit beast thought and the urging of the buzzers, Nobad at long last took off in the direction of the strange, salty, deadly scent that you and I knew was indicative of dolphins, and it was surely fortunate the scabrous cretin was so trusting of your guidance. He couldn't possibly have understood that his loved human was traveling with two of the creatures at this very moment. Following this sour trail, the candidate ducked and wove his way through the library's increasingly peculiar carnage with admittedly impressive reflexes. Many of the more tangible horrors had by now fallen victim to the physical bloodshed, the crumbling maze littered with the towering carcasses of hard storage media formats, but that only left the battlefield open to the fury of more abstracted subconcepts. Entire Entire media formats had been eviscerated, but that had only let loose their rich tapestry of techniques, of subgenres, of storytelling devices to scuttle free from those streaming linguistic bowels hungrier than ever. And as much as the thing running all this might insist otherwise, you really were lucky that this whole business wasn't an animated series. For one thing, you might have missed out on the superb narration I've provided. For another, your insipid minds, this is a compliment where I'm from, of course, were ill prepared to confront the true manifestation of the deus ex machina, the in-joke, the author insert, or the ironic edging. Still, a part of this narration wishes you could have seen how deftly the horrid doggy could parkour between the whipping tentacles and slobbering mouthparts of tired cliches you'll be glad are doomed to perish from your zonal continuity. Nobad slipped like the world's greasiest shadow between the snapping pincers of a ravenous side plot that would have derailed this series to depths unheard of in its already meandering history. He dodged the dripping mandibles of an impromptu reboot, whose reinterpretation of Fern would have been in questionable enough taste to elicit a social media controversy, and he leapt over the dribbling stinger tail of an indefinite hiatus. You'd be pleased to know his filthy little claws momentarily kicked directly off the thing's closest equivalent to an eye, leaving a smear of something that would have no doubt developed into a rather nasty infection not not born later torn in half by the barbed talons of karmic plot twist. Wow, the little thing could really move when he thought he knew where he was going. The smell of dolphin was stronger and stronger. Dolphin that, somehow, he faintly understood would bring him back into the arms of the only thing he loved, and loved with every gurgling sputter of a heart that now existed in far too many overlapping zones to ever stop squirting its slightly too thick juices through his slightly too mushy body materials, no matter how many dead and dying parasites might clog its inflamed valves. As if to underscore my appetizing prose, he halted for just one brief moment as he hacked up a tiny splatter of some blackish looking liquid, and excitedly lapped up the surprise snack just in time to avoid the mutilated carcass of a dated meme reference. But lucky for you, it hadn't had a chance to finish molting into whatever a glib is before it was decapitated by a poorly justified convenience.
I am the Globro Kappa Lab? Is that what it's trying to be?
Yeah, I
That
think
was
that is the
reference?
reference. Schwubble
Wow.
bubble wibble wubble wibble wubble wub.
Ridiculous.
The ultimate goal of these dreadful things, of course, was to work their way up to the core concepto being of the whole zone, smelling his equivalent of blood as he tangled with Willis, hoping they might bore their way deep into his conceptomized membranes and weave themselves into the most fundamental fabric of everything he represented. Perhaps we might have had an opportunity to intervene in that situation, but perhaps we, by which I mean you, would have inadvertently made things astronomically worse. It certainly would not have been the first time. Oh boy, you don't want to know some of the things that might have gone more favorably had you and Fern made some more informed choices. It's really a shame I couldn't have been there to compensate for your stupid, appropriate narrative impact. Regardless of how accurately or inaccurately any of you had already puzzled it out, but I am at the very least free to express that the reason is very stupid. All Nobad knew is that this smell was usually something even he would have been wise to avoid, but that something, you, had overridden those instincts so profoundly. It had become the smell of safety, of his mother. He had not come to a sudden halt to second guess this logic by any means, but out of sheer anxiousness that he was about to see her once more. It felt to him as if he hadn't seen his sweet and precious caretaker in something similar to decades, and now he was getting cold feet as he tried to work out what one should even say in such a situation. How does one greet their loving goddess after centuries apart? What emotions should one gazing into the face of infinite, all encompassing love itself after millennia of suffering in the savage world beyond the warm caress of her sacred, ashtray flavored aura? What we mean by all of this, of course, is that the skittering glob of dandruff was so overwhelmed by the anticipation, its stickly collection of viscera were arguing over which orifice ought to expel which kind of tepid celebratory sludge in which order. But it wasn't long before a faint, dogly equivalent to something like a little, ah, screw it, they're all good ones, firmly finished dribbling through the wrinkles of his cerebellum, and he, at last, rounded the final corner to greet the source of that anxious, dolphiny funk. And aren't you just so fortunate that Cheryl's new pet imbeciles?
Yeah, imbeciles.
And aren't you just so fortunate that Cheryl's new pet imbeciles were maybe perhaps the only dolphins present in the library? How clever of you to gamble on that possibility.
Uh-oh.
I, your dear friend, the narration, truly made the right choice pairing up with you wise sages.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Ah.
Uh-oh. Don't hurt the little doggy.
Strange things happen as a thing roams the range, or perhaps it's not so strange at all. Say perhaps you trudge through some of that disgusting sloppy muck so much of your world is made out of. You would leave furrows in it, since it can't occupy the same space as your torsos and your pants and other solid matter parts. You would probably also leave bits of yourself behind, like hair and cloth fibers and flesh flakes and particles of the grease that's always oozing out of your epidermal cells. At the same time, you would get a lot of the muck smeared all over your matter in turn. Maybe you even keep a little of it to eat later, or whatever it is you do with the filth you live around.
Mm.
At the very least, it would leave you with new memories, new knowledge of the nature of this particular pit of muck, a little more understanding of how to interact with muck, and maybe, also, a stink even worse than your regular one.
We'll be right back.
Right.
We just have to do something real quick.
Okay?
You can keep going.
Okay. What I'm saying here is that wherever you go, you make changes to it. And it changes you too. And the thing about the perception range, if you haven't noticed by now, is that it's a heck of a lot messier and more complicated than just a puddle of mud. What's the stream doing? That's lagging. Refresh the stream. Okay. I say this because some of you have been wondering whether Cheryl the Human was actually Cheryl the Human, and not something like Cheryl the Vibrationator or any of those other dumb things the writer makes up on the fly.
And we're back.
Cool. You didn't miss a lot. I just checked the stream. I think it's working.
Okay, good.
I say this because some of you have been wondering whether Cheryl the Human was actually Cheryl the Human, and not something like Cheryl the Vibrationator or any of those other dumb things the writer makes up on the fly. No, friends, she was very much one of you things, but she had trudged through a lot of the disgusting sloppy muck of reality's many disgusting sloppy layers. I was talking about this earlier.
Hmm. Hmm. Fair
That
enough.
was why she could do things you probably think are weird and not human, but are. I'm delighted to tell you are extremely human when the human in question has been through, the muck. Just as human works a little differently underwater than in the air, you know? But there's a lot of kinds of things out there than. There's a lot more kinds of things out there than water and air, guys. Perhaps if you didn't know what water was and you saw one of your kind swimming around in it, you'd think they were some kind of insane monstrosity until you got in and figured out how to swim a little yourself. Or I suppose you just drowned. A lot of you would probably just drown if you got up to any of the nonsense Cheryl's gotten up to. The things like Fern or the blue guy could have done at any point if they only realized how much muck they were in, could have made for some very, very different sequence of events. I probably didn't need to get into all that, but I thought you might appreciate the insight into why, at the moment, Cheryl was walking an elaborate course that precisely avoided a lot of other terrible things while precisely homing in on her terrible thing, now that she knew for certain that the two of them were sharing a zone. It's also why, quite suddenly, she perceived something that made her say,
Shit!
and start to really hustle. She wasn't psychic. That isn't a thing, especially since technically speaking, neither are thoughts in quite the way you would describe them. But
What?
you know, muck stuff. Unfortunately, her newfound henchbeasts had picked up on the same perceptual cues that the three of them were not only heading for one of their own kind, but one that the dolphins had in fact recognized. Quite closely, in fact. And while they certainly continued to hustle right along with the Cheryl, the dolphin's code and whatnot, they did so with decidedly less enthusiasm than they had when they last had to listen to their drivel. When they last had to listen to their drivel. Let's say we listen to their drivel now. Well, been a bit soon in our little relationship here to be meeting the folks, don't you think?
Unfortunately, I'm getting my damn dog.
Yeah, boss. It's just that we don't see all that eye to eye with Ma these layers. Or that would be putting it generously, I'm afraid.
Ma?
Unfortunately, yeah, we kind of gave her the slip a good few spiralings ago, but, our kind of a tendency to turn up whenever it'd make the worst most problem, right? I suppose right about now that'd be our dear old mother finding us twos. No mistaking that stench.
Is this a regular Ma you plopped out of, or are you talking about a dolphin spurt birther?
We prefer to call them the Great Dolphin Ruin Queens.
Yeah, well, I'm not calling them that.
Cheryl had, by this point in the discussion, actually stopped moving, having skidded to a halt and grabbed Blowhole 2 by the gross dangly snoot around when he indicated that they were on course to encounter the dreadful Spurt Birther, or, in case he would prefer to explore any other alternative terms for his progenitor, a creature some zones refer to as a Delphinian stench womb, lesser bottle-nosed horror show, or nightmare defecator, to name a few. Cheryl was far too stubborn to be having second thoughts, but she'd paused so she could briefly appreciate having all her bones and guts in the right place before she came face to face with what was, debatably, either the second or third most heinous of all the many most heinous sorts of dolphins that existed, which was all of them, really. She sighed, letting go of the porpoise's dangly snoot thing and wiping off her now even sweatier hand on her skirt. She had not been looking forward to things getting this much worse. Not just the unmistakable vibrations of a little tiny terrible dog thing's perception sphere, but a cannon whose existospinal branches were now contracting into an anti-clockwise corkscrew, thrumming 14 octaves to the left. This was among the things a concept core did in response to something similar to pain, and suddenly Cheryl wasn't even hustling, but running full speed ahead, and from the depths of her tar-wrecked lungs there erupted a word that has never once been uttered in all the layers of this web series.
Bitch! Bitch! Bitch!
Meanwhile, the concept of your little buddy Willis had continued hiding deep within its own core, while the outside bits had continued tangling with the professor, pulsating veins probing for weakness in the bookworm's conceptual parameters, finding not one vulnerable vagary in the enemy's thickly reinforced definition. The Willis concept could only stall the fearsome foe as it sapped the life juices from the library's weaker denizens and adjacent perception zones, every tendril modifying its personal interpretation of blood as necessary to invigorate its subcore with whatever might pump through the system of giant walking satirical juxtaposition or a ravenous swarm of glaring anachronisms. The professor could sever a hundred of the thirsty tendrils, only for the Willis concept to sprout twice as many as it reduced in an inappropriate romantic subplot to a whittled husk. This anonymous mass reaping of life at least ensured a certain walking optical organ was well protected from the many deadly horrors he wasn't so personally acquainted with as he clambered and branchinated his way through the multiplying forest of whipping vessels, blurbing and babbling up a storm with every step. Isaac's frantic gibberish was, in spirit, sort of like an emotionally heartfelt, I know you're still in there, remember who you are routine, but He wasn't actually a thing possessed of cognition processes so terribly familiar to your mental processes, or even mine, to be perfectly frank. So it actually didn't quite mean anything like that, but it fulfilled an equivalent narrative purpose, which we all know to be the most important, dignified kind of purpose anyway.
Fair enough.
From my unbiased opinion.
Yes, of course.
The actual meaning of the words sounds. The actual meaning of the sounds would have been lost on Willis, as it must remain as lost on the rest of you. But the spirit of it, what could still trickle its way through conceptual barriers to the buried root of what we know as Willis, and was at the very least what currently kept our preferred version of him from all but dissolving away. It just wasn't enough to pull him back out of his little funk, not yet anyway. Elsewhere in the library were likely to tip the scales of this precarious situation, but until then, Willis was simply too busy taking his little all consuming cosmic force out of destruction break. He was a well meaning enough kid, but if you want this narration's opinion, you should probably have a long talk with his mother about teaching him a few boundaries if you ever get the chance. If you're ever one of those who doesn't like seeing the dog things suffering any sort of harm, then you're fortunate it isn't actually possible to capture in visual language the sort of damage Nobad had just endured. Suffice to say that the dolphin has sort of unnaturally flexed two opposing edges of its own conceptual boundaries to snip off a couple smaller, younger branches of the tinier interloper's core, which I can assure you is a uniquely nasty thing to do. Nasty, but inflicted as impersonally as one of your kind might bite off a fingernail. A dolphin's cruelty was of the sort that didn't actually have any idea what it meant to be cruel, let alone why it should care. But it knew that it derived an awful lot of satisfaction from the different noises things made when you separated them into more pieces than they liked to consist of. And that, the more something struggled to prevent that from happening, the more entertaining the whole business was. Nobad's concept core recoiled from the ruthlessly casual assault the way cellophane would shrink from a bonfire, well before the abstract experience could improvise an avenue into the little creature's conscious perception. But improvise it did, translating into just a momentary, fleeting jolt of something like any sensation you are capable of, but most of all, entirely unlike the sensation of all the water content in your body converging into its equivalent weight in thumbtacks and back again. It took a little effort for Nobad's brain to sort out how it was supposed to feel before the animal let out a sort of rush noise, suddenly convulsing on the library floor. And the timing of this delay was outstandingly comical to the sensibilities of a dolphin. Hey, I'm gonna go pee real quick. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hi, chat. Sorry, we've been a bit out of it to, tonight and today. Sheesh. Sorry, just reading something. Sorry, sorry. We've been dealing with things today. Things have been going well for us, all things considered, but our brain disagrees. Let's put it like that. This poor doggy. Look at the poor doggy.
Constantly test and observe the process of maturing from an incomplete to complete death, as a student of the culinary arts might continuously practice, taste, and deconstruct a challenging recipe before, you know, finally climbing into the oven themselves, as a dolphin would probably assume to be the point of it all. And surely no dolphin wanted to grow up in some dry, under-seasoned, forgettable obituary. Only the juiciest, most succulent demise would suffice. A death marinated in the full spectrum of agony. A death marinated in the full spectrum of agony, terror and entropy that, in a dolphin's mind, constituted reality on an even more fundamental level than concept itself. A death worthy of the entire rich spice rack of mutilation and degradation that had rolled itself in while it was still in its earliest preparatory phases, still taking in nutrients and fighting to prolong its fermentation process just enough.
Mm.
This particular dolphin was a ripe one, dripping with more flavors of violence and malice than most sentiences believe could exist. And still, it wasn't enough for the beast's appetite. She had followed the scent of this battered and bleeding conceptual zone to gorge herself on its rotten despair, to fill its seething wounds with her squirming offspring while she festered on its entrails. Destruction,
Uh,
wherever she might find
that
it.
line got skipped. And still she craved ever more destruction.
And still she craved ever more destruction, wherever she might find it, even from a pre-corpse as insignificant as the hairy morsel of meat that had just
Mid
intruded on her
meal.
mid-meal.
Mind meal. Ooh. Sorry, just had to lighten things up because this is very scary to us.
Unfortunately, that is how dolphins work.
Yeah, we're aware.
Her innards churned and her abdomen swelled, preparing for a torrent of searing, stinking ichor that would neatly dissolve the diminutive biovessel without further damaging the wounded core, leaving it exposed to pluck apart like the petals of a flower, and sprinkle, still twitching, like a pinch of sugar over the next savory mouthful of decomposing library concept. It was good to be a dolphin. Sometimes she might have thought she even might have thought it was better to keep being a dolphin than to ever be a death. But then her thoughts would conjure the glorious image of her own remains, the permanent stains that her ruptured guts would leave on the tapestry of reality, and her spiteful, clacking dolphin jaws slobbered with vulgar anticipation. It would be magnificent when it happened. But of course, though she was quite confident it wouldn't happen just yet, not to the likes of her.
Look at her. Angie.
Absolutely furious.
Yep, as she should be.
Yeah, it's not the only really mad mama.
Yep.
Alright, just putting my drink down.
No worries.
And so, there you were. An innocent and hard-working single dolphin mother of millions that you graciously hadn't even recycled yet. About offspring. Did this thing seek to devour your morsel first? No. It was a different kind of vibration, one that was altogether indescribable to your understanding, except that it at once amused and repulsed you. But speaking of progeny, something else was there too, a much more familial fragrance, one of the sweetest of all conceptual flavors the range had to offer, the unique, sumptuous that was one's own offspring. And not just any offspring at all. Escaped demi-spawn, you were sure. Stunted nutrient stores that must have somehow escaped your old larder. The poor things, you thought, deprived so long of their unintended end. How terrible it must have been to continue persisting undevoured by your own magnificent life-bearer, to live so pointlessly beyond the gift of death she had prepared for them especially. And now, here they were, oblivious captives of the inferior and despicable gray thing. Still, despite your confidence in your own majesty, something about this whole situation felt different. You steeled yourself and let loose a magnificent battle squeal as the decrepit biped struck. The
Well,
mysterious grave owner and your ripened spawn attacks.
okay, first of all, we want to say that the dolphin, the
Yeah,
dolphins, just, you do a great voice for her. You,
or
that
inner
was,
monologue, yeah.
yeah, beautiful, really.
Although I suggest you voice her inner monologue from this point forward.
Alright, but you do such a great one. You are pretty good at,
Oh, please. I just relax my voice, and whenever something horrific is being described, I give myself a little hit of the dopamine.
ah, you're pretty
Anyway,
good.
yep. Okay, so
Start the music.
it's time to play the music. It's time to choose your action.
Alright,
Mother
well,
Dolphin.
alright, we'll voice Mother Dolphin just in case.
Yes. Oh god, there's a lot. I scrolled down a little bit and there's just so much text.
Yeah, we're going to give you a break. Alright.
Yeah. Okay. Round 1. Spurt. Spurt roll. 7 dolphlets spurted.
Something itching in the back of your dolphin brain has told you to spurt. Of course it has. It's what you're best at, and it's always your decision. Your jaws dribble with delight as your innards churn. You neither know this nor care, but the process is more than biological replication of physical meat. The very essence of what you are, what you represent, reaches deep into the dark well of where you really came from. What it finds is a little like the blackish scum clogging an old drain. And as it digs its tendrils through the half-oily, half-gelatinous muck, it faintly detects something like movement, the faint, tickling shudders of unnamed possibilities that yearn to be realized. Your concept clenches around these desperate motes, pulling them from the ooze in a great, sopping fistful, and they are dragged from the sludge of meaninglessness through the layers of your meaning until they have emerged into your flesh. And you so have become a thing as real and definite as yourself, and they suckle on your nourishing realness, and your definition becomes theirs, and so does your hate, and they grow their flesh until it can no longer.
Right now, having to relay this to you is not unlike what you might experience if you had to wear a full-body latex rubber membrane filled with wet, cold pasta. So while this narration has more or less said this before, you really ought to appreciate all I'm putting up with for the both of us to survive this mess. And also, I kind of like this because it sort of validates me giving her inner monologue its own voice.
Yeah.
Anyway, ahem. You rattle your dreadful dolphiny jaws in delight as the little atrocities gush forth from your viscera, reveling in hedonistic joy over the searing agony it causes your own flesh. But there's something else too. A shiver in the concept around you. A little twitch in the surrounding zone as more of your power intrude into its wounded borders. Something increased by some amount? The enemy gray thing attacks.
The thing does something irrelevant and pitiful. You do not notice what it is, and you do not care. Soon enough its meat will be your own.
Fused dolphlet attacks.
How did this poor little one ever escape your notice? Does it not understand its purpose? It must be terrible to have gone on being alive like this, never benefiting the growth of your poor mother's flesh.
Infused dolphlet attacks.
The attack causes you no pain at all. To be a dolphin and inflict no pain would be the saddest thing you can imagine. If you are capable of sadness, All you know is that these two will be so grateful when they cease existing.
Now, this being would probably be a lot less horrific if it had less empathy.
Yeah.
You sustain 2 damage. Round 2. Bombay. Bomb baby. Not Bombay.
Bombay.
Bombay, the city of Bombay.
Bombay. You barely recovered from your last spurt. Your tattered exomembranes still knitting themselves together as you wring out every dribble of sludge from their spongy layers, painfully exuding one more smear of dolphin concept. You school back, equally amused by the sole purpose of its birth, this shared moment of sadistic nihilism is perhaps your kind's closest equivalent to what other things would call affection. It is, in a bent way, deeply special to you, and you barely register the sensation that you have called more attention to your presence.
Something increases by some amount.
Oh dear.
The Dolphlet attack.
You ooze with pride as your spawn engage whatever processes of mindless violence your flesh bestowed upon them in a flurry of snapping jaws, smacking flippers, sputtering blowholes, gouging nails, and whipping umbilical tendrils. These efforts subject their own twisted anatomy to at least as much agony as they could ever possibly deliver, hence the ear-splitting chorus of hysterical shrieks. Truly, there is nothing like a newborn's first laughter to warm a mother's bio ducts.
1d10 plus 7 damage, roll 12. The enemy Grey Thing resists. 1d10 damage reduction roll. 3. Enemy Grey Thing sustains 9 damage. The enemy Grey Thing retaliates somehow.
Another trivial effort, barely tickling. You feel more irritated than injured. Surely this thing is capable of delivering a more pain. Get on with it already.
Confused Dolphlet attempts communication.
The pitiful creature emits a series of vibrations from its mouth. You are reminded the babble spewed by great things until you have separated enough of their pieces. You can't imagine where it could have learned such undignified behavior, but you can still glean some possible meaning from the noises. Something about violence? Of course! Yes, that makes sense. And wait. Is that something about violence being... not something. Not ever unwelcome? Not ever messy enough? No, it seems as if this thing... as if this being is attempting to express that violence is not something needed in this situation. You're not really following.
The other confused Dolphlet attacks.
While your attention is divided, the larger tasty snack manages to bestow upon you the gift of a more substantial wound. You feel a twinge of pride in this one. It will no doubt taste the sweetest of the two.
You have sustained 4 damage this round. Round 3! Have a little snacky. Other dolphin used snacky.
You would usually build up a little more of an appetite, but the chittery things you've just squeezed from your gelatinous insides are looking even greasier and smelling even more fetid. Sorry.
I think that's fetid?
Fetid. Bogleach, fix this and also die. Speaking for the dolphin here. Bogleach, please live.
Bogleach, fix this. So your juicy innards will be a much more appetizing snack when we finally rip you to shreds.
Finally, a person who gets it. In an orgy of violence, both the best and only kind of orgy you're aware of. You snap up the nearest dolphin and gulp it down, barely crunching its little bones between your hundreds of teeth. His brothers and sisters frolic around you, each frantically eager to be next, and one by one you indulge them, until you've returned all 7 to the depths from which they spurted. You feel wonderful. Your health has been
Your health has been restored, and also, the dolphins are going to definitely be a faction in the magic set. It's going to be great.
Uh-oh. The dolphins are really...
Yeah, like they're like sacrifice fodder. It's gonna be awesome.
Fair enough.
Something decreases again, but only slightly. Bomb baby countdown. 2. The enemy gray thing attacks.
You're almost pleased to find that the thing was holding back, though its efforts could certainly be better. But an almost adorable existential pseudopod, it tears a sincere but ultimately disappointing gash in your 8th quad 3 green exomembrane.
That one attacks.
There is nothing one of your own kind can do to surprise you, let alone impress you. You barely register what the silly thing even attempted.
The other one attacks.
Ah,
You have sustained 5 damage this round. Also, how's the recording? We've been going for quite a while. The recording isn't gonna...
we
go
don't think
kaput, is
so.
it?
We don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay. Round 4. Bite. Mother Dolphin used Bite.
You have been sizing up the potential deliciousness of your more misguided byproducts since they first dared to accost you. But you don't want to be too hasty. You'd rather savor these finely aged treats, and you opt to take only a test bite as gently as you're capable.
This one sustains damage.
That's a lot.
Bomb baby countdown. 1. That one attacks vigorously.
For some reason, your damage to the bigger one has triggered a strong reaction in the smaller one. It must have been saving the feast for itself.
The enemy gray thing does something or other.
You aren't sure what it is doing. It is probably irrelevant.
The other one does nothing.
You expected your meal to remember its purpose and rejoice, but it only curled up pitifully. The undolphinly behavior would almost put you off your appetite, if it were possible for anything to put you off your appetite.
Something is suddenly stirring. You don't notice, but the narration does. This could be important, but it might be best not to call too much attention to it. You have sustained 3 damage this round. Round 5. Snacky again. Mother Dolphin used Snacky.
The mysterious chatter in your mind is urging you to eat. Therefore, you decide to eat the most edible and appetizing younger dolphin present, as this narration tried to the best of its ability to establish as the only parameters of this command, and regrets that it did not make this clear, but you can only do so much. You open wide your slavering muscle, and take another massive bite out of the same dolphin you've been repeatedly saying is the one you wanted to eat next. Having already eaten so much, you can't fit the entire thing just yet, but you certainly rend a significant chunk from the thing. At last you silence the bothersome throbbing of its life functions. You just know, in the gurgling clots of pus that passes for a dolphin's heart, this is what it wanted all along. It truly is a tasty one. It's tasty enough that you forgive it for ever escaping. Perhaps you should allow them to do so on purpose. Evidently, they will only grow juicier by the time they come back to you.
I like how dolphins are such like powerful creatures that the concept of one in a video game using a healing item is also in attack. They just automatically bite you.
It was so sweet.
Anyway, Bomb Baby countdown. 0! With a gurgling of unbridled ecstasy, the bloated little dolphin swells to near bursting, and then to bursting. A roiling biochemical gumbo and an alien atmosphere meet in a burst of energy that triggers a magnificent blast. Something increases a fair bit again. The enemy gray thing is significantly wounded. Your last surviving progeny is gravely injured.
Every dolphin's 7 favorite words.
Your last surviving progeny is gravely injured. Huh. You have sustained so much damage this round. This thing is missing.
Obliterated
Okay.
utterly, no doubt. You will miss the taste, but it is a satisfactory enough outcome, given how desperately the bigger gray thing wanted it, and remains cosmically enough to appreciate the loss. The anarchy and rot of the surrounding zone is suddenly seasoned with the pain and confusion of the tiny beings that believe they can stop you from doing as you please. You are amused.
Did you hear that through my microphone?
What?
Never mind.
Alright.
Anyway, next. Shall I return to the narration? Or do you want to keep doing it?
We think we want to keep doing it, at least to give you a break. You continued your atrocious chortling, losing yourself in your grotesque mirth. Your sides would be splitting if they hadn't already been blown open. But even this wouldn't be enough to end your gloriously offensive existence. No, not yet. Many of your organs were currently missing in action, and to be sure, and the rest had suffered a critical degree of physical trauma. But your flesh would keep moving so long as precious paragel would continue to circulate between your bile vessel and your conceptual core. By far the best protected organ nestled deep within your membranes, and already it was delivering your aberrant concept to the empty space your physical material was supposed to be. Already you could feel yourself rebuilding. You would live, you would survive as you had through countless catastrophes before, to once again enjoy the rich delights of reality itself dissolving around you, with your few remaining digestive sacs still packed with the mangled meats of your plump babies. You didn't even care to finish off your would-be adversaries, snickering with renewed entertainment at the thought of simply leaving them to cave in with the rest of the zone. Though you were never aware of it, but somehow, over the course of your unfathomably extensive existence, you had come to place a sort of value in at least one singular life. Consciously, you anticipate your inevitable doom, looked eagerly towards what marvelous form your death could potentially take. But somewhere inside you was a quiet, secret resolve that the moment would never come. That oblivion was, strangely, not as desirable as awareness. That even the question of how you might die was a pleasure you might never truly be ready to abandon, even for that death's embrace. You were different. You were special. Above all else, you were eternal.
Or perhaps
Perhaps
you
you
might
might
have
have
been
been if your
if your one
one
remaining
remaining
paragel
paragel
hose
hose
was
was
not
not
only
only
dangling
dangling
quite
quite unprotected
unprotected outside
outside
of
of
your
your
still
still regenerating
regenerating biomass,
biomass, but
but was by
was by
meaningless
meaningless
coincidence
precisely the right
precisely
shape
the right shape to
to
fit
fit
between
between
the
the
jaws
jaws of
of
one
one very
very
small
small but
but enormously unhygienic
unhygienic
canine.
canine. We need
Oh,
to.
uh, are we back? We're
Yep.
back. All right. The vision of your mother was fading as quickly as it had begun. Her cryptic message meant nothing to you, and you understood fully that it was not supposed to be. You understood fully that it was not supposed to. That your progenitor, was she now, had not come for you or even registered your presence at all. That was it then. Neither the magnificent victory nor thrilling demise you were owed by the nature of your existence, but an unceremonious, purposeless, entirely senseless end, an end important to nothing and no one. A soggy rasp escaped your windpipes, a single weak laugh at the humor of your pointless anticlimax. You dimly notice, as the little gray thing trotted away with a greasy strand of your inner works, that the wounds you had inflicted upon it had been undone at every existential level, and you realize this is what had divided the attention of the larger gray thing, that it had not come to steal your kill at all, but to prolong the existence of the inferior meat form for its own sake. Your fading Nemo glands twitch with memory, recalling the strange failings of so many things between your jaws, and the impenetrable ways countless entities interfered with your fun regardless of any obvious benefit to themselves. Another wheeze of amusement creaked from your ragged orifices. the air seeping from multiple deep wounds in a chorus of garbled sighs like pudding-filled bagpipes. Funny, funny things, so stupid. Senseless, senseless, stupid, not use. And yet, as both your material liquids and manifest definitions leaked into the jellies of your surrounding realities, missing puzzle pieces haphazardly oozed in their place. Frayed wires clumsily found one another, half realizations half aligned, and your dwindling consciousness began to understand something. It was as if the very first thing to slough from your ripening corpse was whatever putrid snarl had clogged your repulsive dolphin heart to begin with. And with newfound lucidity, you realized how much beauty you had missed, that there was, in fact, a far richer tapestry of cruelty than your brutal destruction could have wasted your layers indulging. As they wormed free from your core, your disintegrated branches discovered such concepts as emotional manipulation and psychological abuse and social toxicity. You saw now why other creatures fought so hard to extend the lives of more than themselves.
No, that's not the reason, Christophin.
You begin to grasp ideas such as inappropriate conduct,
No,
misuse of interpersonal power dynamics,
no.
disregard of personal boundaries,
This is sad.
inconsiderate demands,
Ah,
hurtful words, general selfishness, and subtle, insidious obnoxiousness. A
no.
million ways to perpetuate a million degrees of negativity and turmoil that can only be possible through one final, tantalizing concept that still lie just beyond your grasp. Something called Sharp, or possibly Lorv, which must surely be the foulest and wickedest key to it all. If only your branches would rot away just half a layer slower. If only they could drag themselves through one more meager micromembrane before you were truly gone. Truly nothing at all. You remembered then that there was in fact one last healthy fragment of your biomaterial that you had not reabsorbed.
No, 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 no,
With
no,
your last
no.
pitiful twitch of being, you reached out to this wayward morsel for the last desperate time. Please! Actually, you say it.
Please,
You might have thought the word were part of your vocabulary.
I need more. I need to know. Come back. Reintegrate. Help your progenitor to live, that she may figure out what lube is supposed to be. With her nutrients, perhaps, she might use this secret knowledge to inflict greater horrors than ever imagined.
Waited for the infantile thing's response, waited for it to start slithering stupidly towards your writhing jaws as it should. You were running out of layer. We're losing concept fast. You poured the last of your strength into the grisly request, your rotting branches feebly calling out to the succulent mouthful that was, in fact, your only extant child, admitting for the first time in your heartless existence that you needed someone else, that a being besides yourself was meaningfully, uniquely, and critically valuable to your own well-being, rather than just another hilarious way to keep on mauling and mangling as you please. That if this weak and pitiful reject of your maniacal spawnings could only do this single thing, it might even live on in your glorious memory as your favorite.
Into my jaws, between my teeth. Find your true home. Realize your grand purpose.
The call repeated, weakly but persistently. Your perception was so focused on the singular act you barely noticed as the buzzers and the narration quietly disengaged from the reeking curtains of the dolphin's profane conceptual gels. Shuddering as they did in so part to take the stink off, and in part just because they're whew! You can't imagine how it actually feels to narrate one of these things from the inside. Perhaps a little like if your bones wanted out, but we're also made entirely from clotted ropes of wet hair.
Ick.
Even Even safely on the outside, one could feel the itchy, twitchy tingle of the dying dolphin's desperate subconceptual distress call as it warbled through limited vibro channels to escape like the hands of a beggar at Blowhole 2's perception sphere. Mm.
Oh, he angry.
No more parental abuse.
Revenge.
Anyway, meanwhile, well, actually, you're voicing the Magboils, aren't you?
A red. Meanwhile, a red. Come here, you stupid little shit.
Uh, did, uh, did something happen? Ah,
who's
uh,
who's the little bastard? You're my little bastard. Little... This is yours.
Developed activity critical. Containment purge aborted. Explosions purge protocols initiated. The library has ultra closed. Please do not resist dispersal.
Shit, 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 shit.
From the desk of Professor Lexicovermus. On behalf of our staff, our illustrious Professor Lexicovermus apologizes to all adjacent conceptual zones for our apparent failure at containing and neutralizing one or more XK class existohazards. It is not without a heavy heart that we are unfortunately forced to prioritize our on.
Yes, you did. You read a good long bit of it.
Okay, I think I got like we refer to as literature content face oblivion than which exists beyond its borders has in some manner of
You've
speaking already
read
been
this
lost with it.
part to
But
civilian.
conversely, so long as the library endures in some form, then truly nothing can be considered gone. And if all existence is ephemeral to some degree, what is existence at all but the memory and knowledge that one has existed? If I may quote from a great thinker, I do believe it was one illustrious professor, Lexicovermus, who once said, to be known, even to oneself, is merely to be, but to be recorded is to be eternally. We hope you will find comfort in the knowledge that to face destruction in our stead is in fact an accident for existence so far as that it will ultimately matter in the grander scheme. By the way, I just wanted to mention something.
Yeah.
Uh, it can be argued that civilization exists in an objective form, then this must logically be that one which we refer to as literature. Does that mean he views does that mean he views societies that haven't discovered writing as objectively inferior?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm just saying, like his writing sort of implies that he views societies that have not developed writing as inferior.
Well, he's the concept of literature.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to be racist about it.
Yeah, he doesn't, but he does have an ego.
Okay, that's fair.
Hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, should we read this
See,
exchange?
yeah. Expungings. Gonna need a registry.
Eh, at least we's out of the books.
Sorry about your brother. I'm not good at this kind of thing.
It's fine. We Dolphs ain't sentimental or nothing. Excuse me. Got to leak something fierce.
Okay? Charming. As for you, you sure are more hassle than you're worth sometimes. At least the kids will quit whining for their dog back. Wait. I don't. I don't have. What fucking kids, you brained fucking little bitch?
I'm a victim of circumstance.
Self dump. Who even needs kid when I already have one useless turd machine I want to strangle? That's right. Yes, I do. Who's a rotten sack of shit? We called it. We called it. We called it. Willis, where'd you fly in from, kiddo?
Oh,
Oh, that's
hey,
yours.
I'm voicing Willis.
Sorry. Sorry, little critter.
Oh, the library. Did I broke it?
Nah, see? Text's still a thing. You just missed Fern, though.
Miss Fern! Oh no, is she okay?
Delicious, actually.